Also, oh my god. That's a freaking race car. It's a race car that you can put license plates on. Nice, Dragon. A Daytona? I see you're a man of taste. 288 GTO. That's a nice car. Yeah. Or we could have a Mondial. Testarossa. 458 Italia before they started turboing and downsizing, yeah. Ground anchors are real. Alright, I got most of the Space News links. What about a Rover SD1? We're looking at a 512, and you want this? We're looking at 512s and F40s, and that? I'm joking. Well, Joe, the Dacia Sandero is the best car of all time, okay? Shows the multiple. No. All right. Okay, switch over to Space News. Let's go. Can you go into detail about the Elon Tory thing? Do I have a choice? All right, let me just bring up the title card and the starting soon screen so the people that are watching the VOD can see where it starts. There you go. No more song. We don't have to do it anymore. All right, space news time. Let's go. Okay, so we are going to start off with a recap video coming from Virgin Orbit here. Let's see what we got.
Team Rocket, RD on RocketNet, looking for confirmation your system is still go. Thermal.
Everybody's go.
AVI, go. Flight software.
Flight software's go.
GNC,
GNC's go.
payload.
Payload's go.
S1 prop,
Go.
S2 prop,
S2 prop is go.
systems.
Go.
Copy all things.
Yeah, Frill. Virgin Orbit is a strato launch,
Control room.
small sat launcher
Copy that too.
that launches off of a 747. It's really freaking cool,
LDCE on
actually.
control room. We are go for terminal count.
Watch this. Yeah,
Release.
it's kind of weird how this, but also... Click.
Newton 3 startup confirmed. Stage 1 burn nominal.
S-band lock for Baja TM data is confirmed.
Dude, that's
Thanks,
so
Go for
freaking cool. Look at that.
Stage 1 trajectory nominal.
Music to my ears. Thanks.
Cosmic orbit base, stage 1 burn is nominal, passing 120,000 feet.
Newton 3 shutdown confirmed.
Stay set, break.
Dude.
Stage 4 startup complete. S2 prop, stage 2 burn is nominal.
That's so legit.
Downrange, O'Higgins, locked.
AOS and frame lock at Mauritius.
LD on control room. For those who haven't heard, we have a confirmation of all 7 satellites deployed.
All systems are good, they're coming back for land.
Copy, stepping up. It was a great day to go to space with everybody.
LC2 Cosmic Row is on the ground.
That's really freaking cool,
Welcome
man.
back, Cosmic Row.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm sorry, just seeing a 747 with a rocket slung under the wing is just one of those things that I didn't really realize that I wanted until this thing came around. The chase plane shots were done using a CF5 registered as November 812 Mike X-ray. Oh, Joe, she's a beast. And this mission was very critical because the last launch was a disaster, and this one was proof that it actually works. So I think they've launched into space before, Swishio. The first test flight didn't work. Second test flight worked, and then I think this was the first operational, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, it's a Keralox, Kerbal. Yeah, exactly. Keralox rocket, man. Unbelievable. It's so damn cool. That's so damn freaking cool. The second launch had NASA payloads. Yeah, no boil-offs, Si. That's unbelievable. It's freaking impressive, to be quite frank with you. That's freaking impressive.
LDCE.
Oh, that's so cool. What a nice looking plane. I love 747s.
On control room. We are go for
That's been my favorite plane since like I was 5.
Release.
Here, hold on. Give me 1 second. Oh. Alright, let's take a look. Let's take a look at the dash. Oh, they have the FMC. They have the FMC plotted for for the holding pattern. You see that? Okay. Max power, 20-degree angle of attack. They released it at, what does that say? 150, I think. 150. No, it can't be 150. That's too low. I can't see it. Yeah, look at the vertical speed. Vertical speed is pegged. The vertical speed's pegged positive, dude. They gotta be. It's hard to say. I think that says 270 or something. I'm not sure. But the autopilot is set to 0.85 Mach, heading 147 at 32,800 feet. nose. Yeah, they have the throttles all the way up. Flaps are all the way up. Obviously, deploying flaps here would be terrible. So the autopilot was at 32.8, and the autopilot is off because the analog altimeter is reading 35,000. So that's from the pitch up. So we know that number's 35. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, they're at yeah. There you go. They're at 35,000 feet, heading 147. I'm trying to see what that is. I think that's 250 knots, I think. At least they have a reusable first stage. The MCP altitude is 32.8. Yeah. I know. They have the autopilot shut off. Well, no, they have altitude hold on. They have heading hold off, which is weird. It looks like she's getting ready, or he, it looks like the co-pilot's getting ready to hit that off there. Yeah, you can't see. All the heading hold is off, speed hold is off. Does 747 have auto throttle? I forget. It probably does. So there's the horizon, 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 20 degree positive angle of attack. That's a hell of a climb for a 747. The AT arm is next to the speed display. Yeah, okay, so the autopilot is off, but they still have altitude engaged, which is nothing. There's a button over here that overrides that button. Cool. I just wanted to see this. I thought that would be cool. Nice, Reagan. Yep, there you go. The person on the right. Okay, Kelly. Yeah, that's right. It's Kelly Latimer. That's right. Yeah, I remember now. Also, can we slow-mo the drop? Oh, I got you. I got you. No problem. Click. Dude, that's so legit, man. It looks like old X-15 drop footage, but better. I agree, worst. Yeah, the autopilot's definitely off. Holy crap, look at that. That's so freaking cool, man. Is it satisfying that they're pushing a button to release? It's pretty cool, man. Ryan, you can do it in KSP, but the thing is oh my god. You can do it in KSP, but the thing is, as soon as the rocket gets away from the airplane, the airplane will delete itself. The Kraken will get it. Unless you can make a rocket that can accelerate to put its apogee above like 100 kilometers in like a second. You'd need to basically launch a sprint missile. It's possible. You can do it. And you'd have to switch back to the plane flying before it gets 20 kilometers away. So you'd need to accelerate to near orbit velocity, right? Near orbital velocity before 21 kilometers away from your chase plane, so you could switch back and land the chase plane, right? And then you land the chase plane, you switch back to the rocket, and hopefully it's coasted to AP, and then you circularize from there. It's doable. It's totally doable. Multiplayer in KSP could fix that problem, absolutely. Well, Ryan, ideally what you do is where you release the rocket, you'd release it over KSC or like right before KSC so the plane can just nose down and land on the runway and the rocket can go. So you'd have to take off, turn around, go out to the mountains, turn around again, launch the thing, and then nosedive the plane at the runway and land it. And then switch to the rocket. It's doable. I could time that right, but I wouldn't do it in mission mode because I'm not risking losing a chase plane or losing the strato-launching plane. But it's doable. You could do this. You could totally get that done. You can switch to the rocket and then let the plane disappear and pretend the plane landed. Yeah, Fragment, but it'll count it as it crashing into the surface. You won't get your money back on the airplane. It'll treat it like an expendable first stage. Kraken will eat anything below 25 kilometers that's not within 21 kilometers of you in the air. Can I get a YouTube link for this video? Sure, man. It's a great video. Nice bigote. Gracias, amigo. Me gusta los bigotes. I wish, Native. That would have been amazing.
Colorado orbit base. Stage 1 burn is nominal, passing 120,000 feet.
Too bad they didn't show the cockpit when the rocket was released. The effect of the center of gravity would cause the pilots to really work hard. I mean, they did. They did. Where's Tank? Look, release command right there. Kelly Latimer's literally presses the button. I mean, we could watch the flight controls, see what happens. Right there. There's the button press. I mean, Guy's definitely gripping that yoke. Look at that. Guy's definitely holding on for dear life with that thing. So you're probably not wrong. But you got to remember, it's not like the like if it dropped it straight up, the plane wouldn't go up like this. They're already ascending. So they drop it and then they turn right away. So it wouldn't be. I assume it wouldn't be too bad. You're getting an up and down center of mass shift doing that, and a slightly left to right center of mass shift, right? So as long as if you could independently throttle the engines, I suppose you could compensate for it. You see the way they banked off the runway? That thing must fly awesome, mostly empty. Oh yeah. I mean, there's no way that rocket. What do you think's heavier, Miff? 400 people? 430 people? Or the launch vehicle? I don't know, man.
Copy that, C.
430 people is what a 747-400 can haul, right? With all their luggage. Yeah, that's definitely heavy. Yeah, that thing probably flies great with that.
Room, we are go for takeoff.
Copy that, C.
LDCE on control room, we are go for terminal.
Can you? Like, I get it, billionaires and stuff. I get it, Richard Branson and stuff. Like, how much? Can you imagine how good of a feeling it is to, like, look at this 747 with a missile attached to the side and be like, yeah, that's my plane. I own that plane. That's mine. I'll be honest, that probably is a really, really good feeling. Yeah, Fragment, with mods you can do it. Like,
LCC on control room, we are go for takeoff.
Copy that, C.
Like, can you imagine? Can you imagine seeing that take off? Be like, yeah, that's my plane. I own that plane. Me. This is mine. This is mine. Where's yours? Oh, wait. You don't have one. Oh, yeah, Bio. That must be the best feeling ever. Look at all those poor 747s in the background. Wait. Is that a Virgin 747 in the background at Mojave? Yeah, Sarah's... Yeah, oh yeah. You don't like me having a 747? All right, you should come and you should force me to fly it down. Sanction me. Sanction me with your arm. Oh, wait a minute. You don't have a 747. I guess that means you need to shut the frick up. Actually, we did the math, Frilled, for buying one of these. If you hit the Powerball, you could literally operate a 747. And the Powerball was like, what was it, guys? I think it was like above 500 mil. For 300 million, right? You could literally operate a 747. You could buy a 747 and operate it for 50 years, and it'd be fine. 50 years. Like with storage, hangar, and everything. We did the cost a little while back when the lottery was really high because we wanted to figure out the 747 that fit this stream the best. Is it a Qantas over there? Shame. Nice crew. Thanks, El. I've worked VIP 748 as a ramp agent. It's absolutely insane. Streamer House 747. Frilled, dude. Okay. It's time to indulge in EJ suddenly becoming a millionaire ideas. I would buy a 747 cargo. It would be a cargo conversion, okay? And then on the upper level, I would have a streaming room that's been all designed to be in an airplane. So we could literally fly in we could stream from the airplane. It would have Starlink on the back. Seriously. I would have Starlink on the back to get a good enough bandwidth, bandwidth, and I would stream from 30,000 feet. It'd just fly around to rocket launches. I'm serious, I would do that. Fuel too, fuel maintenance and everything. Yeah, that's right, Red. And then the reason why it would be a cargo conversion is because I would have an auto shop on the cargo deck. I'm serious. I would have an auto shop in there, and when the 747's on the ground, I would have a lift inside of it, and you could lift the car up. I don't know, Tars. Now, a boat would be better. If I'm going to pick something that's going to be expensive that I'm going to waste money on, Dish, it's going to be an airplane. Boats are nice, but airplane. Yeah, Merkers, they already take all my cars with me. That's right. Truck stream from inside the plane, yeah. So, how about a C-17? Too expensive, Raziel. Take it one step further and get one of those Jeeps you can airdrop. I mean, we could buy some mil surplus Humvees. Fragment, I know enough service members here. I bet you I bet you there's a Loadmaster that watches this stream. We could hook that up. You know, because people dig dudes with money. How about a C-47? Too small. Yeah, exactly, worse. Yeah, the old saying in the aviation business. How to become a millionaire in aviation. Start by being a billionaire. Anyway. A400? Ew. Why? That would literally be like half the price, and that does more than an A400. What are you guys, crazy? Markers. That would actually kind of suck, yeah. But props are terribly inefficient compared to a bypass turbofan is the end of that sentence. But if we did it with a C5, we could refuel in the air. Who would refuel us, Bio? Alright, this conversation's done. Anyway, next, let's talk to Yeef. This was posted by Blue Origin today. Let's see what we got.
You're in zero gravity for 4 minutes. You come back down. We land gently on the desert surface. We open the hatch and you step outside. What's the first thing you say?
I will say, honey, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I've been flying forever, and I have 19,600 flying hours.
Holy crap.
I have taught over 3,000 people to fly, private, commercial, instrument, flight
I'll take the
engineer,
plane, alleviate.
airline transport, gliding,
That's cool.
everything that the FAA has, I've got the license for. And I can outrun you. Back in the 60s, I was in the Mercury 13 program. They asked me, do you want to be an astronaut? I said, yes.
Dude, that's actually really
They told me
cool.
that I had done better and completed the work faster than any of the guys. So I got a hold of NASA 4 times. I said, I want to become an astronaut, but nobody would take me. I didn't think that I would ever get to go up. Nothing has ever gotten in my way. And they said, Wally, you're a girl, you can't do that. I said, guess what? Doesn't matter what you are. You can still do it if you want to do it. And I like to do things that nobody has ever done.
We're going to fly you up into space on the very first flight.
She's all right.
I can't tell
Gotta do
people
something about
that
that
are
TV, though.
watching how fabulous I feel to have been picked by Blue Origin to go on this trip.
You're gonna be an astronaut.
Oh, finally! And I love every second of it. Woo! Ha ha! I can hardly wait.
I think that's super important, what she said there. Doesn't matter who you are, you gotta want to do it. That's the key. You have to want to. If you don't want to, who cares? It doesn't matter. Good call. That's a very astute thing to notice. That's really smart. Well, nice, Forge. She would be the oldest person to go over the Kármán line. She also bought a ticket for Virgin Galactic Spaceship 2 in 2012. Nice, nice. I used to work on the first woman commercial pilot's car back in the day. Nice, dude. Thanks, B-Money. Better late than never. Do astronauts lose bone mass over time? Yes, Shewa. You have to, I mean, losing bone mass is a big deal, but you can exercise every day, and as long as you get your heart going, as long as you got to do a lot of cardio, you got to do a lot of lifting, and you have to eat right up there. If you don't, yeah, you're going to come back down here, and you're going to have a heart attack when you step out of the spacecraft. That's really, yeah, that's a big deal. You have to work out in space. 2 hours. Astronauts have to work out for 2 hours every day. Every day. Yeah, you have to. No, seriously, like if you lose bone mass and you get muscle atrophy up there, when you come back down, your body's going to need to do so much work just to stand up that your heart will go bananas, and that's the end of that. Yeah, you really have to be careful. Oh, excuse me. That's something to really take into account. All right. So let's see what we got here. So this one is coming from space.com by Mike Wall here. Let's see what we got. Space Perspective starts selling seats for balloon rides to the stratosphere. You can now book a seat on a balloon ride to the stratosphere if you got deep pockets, selling at about 125 G's a pop. Florida-based company Space Perspective has started accepting seat reservations for its Spaceship Neptune, a balloon-board pressurized capsule designed to carry 8 passengers and 1 pilot to an altitude of 100,000 feet for 125 G's. Has anyone died from that? No, fellow. Spaceship Neptune passengers will spend about 6 hours aboard the capsule during their flights, which will take them above 99% of Earth's atmosphere and show our planet against the blackness of space. Due to all this, I thought you'd be scared due to all this blackness. The experience will be low impact and relatively luxurious, Space Perspective representatives say. Because the capsule is lofted by a giant balloon, the ascent is gentle, with none of the high G-forces associated with rocket launches. And Spaceship Neptune will feature reclining seats, panoramic windows, a refreshments bar, and a bathroom, among other amenities. Space Perspective aims to begin commercial operations by the end of 2024. The company took a big step towards achieving that goal last Friday, launching its first test flight from Space Coast Spaceport in Florida, which is next door to Kennedy Space Center. The uncrewed flight, which used a full-size Spaceship Neptune simulator, lasted 6 hours and 39 minutes. It reached a maximum altitude of 108,409 feet, or 33,000 meters, and splashed down as planned in the Gulf of Mexico, about 50 miles off of Florida's west coast. What happened to your upper lip? It's camouflage. I could not be more proud of the performance of the team in the flight system. Interesting. Huh. So you launch from the east coast of Florida and land in the Gulf Coast. With a hot air balloon, yeah, Earth's going to spin underneath you. So Hibbit, they're not so much going west, they're just going up and coming right back down. The Earth is just going to spin from underneath. Interesting. So, okay, all right. I'm not trying to be skeptical. I think this is really cool, actually. That's really neat. 125 grand is not that bad. If you charter a jet plane, though, what does 125 G's get you? Like, okay, how much does it cost to fly on, like, the Vomit Comet or something? You know, like, 125 grand, man? Get you a pretty, you could charter a business jet. You could charter like a 737 for that much money. Charter jet has everything that has, and you know, like, you don't fly to 100,000 feet, but you fly to 40,000 feet. You know, like, I don't know. That's just what popped into my head. Like, that's still cool. I mean, there's no airplane that flies at 100,000 feet that we know about. Gulf 650 extended range private jet is 10,000 an hour. So if you have 120 G's, Bill, you could charter a flight for 125 grand to Tokyo, or you could go to like LA and back. That's actually not bad. Dude, I don't have that kind of money. Is it bad if I look at that? I'm like, oh, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. That's really not bad. Yeah. Just charter a U2. Yeah, Frill, the U2 is probably where closest you're gonna get. Still cool though. Can you bet? Dude, how crazy would it be if you did that when a rocket is launched? Oh, that's how they're gonna make money. That's a really good idea. It's going to fly out of the TFR, and by the time it gets up to 100,000 feet, it'll be way clear of the TFR for a rocket. Dude, that's really smart. Oh, that's such a good idea. That's a good idea. Can you imagine seeing a rocket launch from 100,000 feet? On a clear day, that would look insane. That would look insane. Yeah, Fragment, you could photograph the ISS from up there. If it's crossed, like if you're in the launch window. Dude, imagine during a CRS mission. Or Crew 3. Crew 3, you're up in the balloon. The ISS is going to pass over, and then the rocket's going to launch right after it. Oh, yeah, okay. I see how, yeah, okay. At first, I was like, who cares? It's a hot air balloon. It goes to, but, hold on a second there, Skipper. That's actually a really good idea. That's a really good idea. Damn, dude. Wayward balloon in the making. A fighter pilot had to use his ejector seat over the Netherlands today. Well, at least he's alright, Pro Skill. Planes are replaceable. Pilots are not. Pilots are way more expensive than the damn plane is. expensive to train. So are astronauts, for what it's worth, if you want to be a dick about it and look at it that way. You know? That's cool, man. I actually kind of dig this. At first I was like, why don't you just get... No. That's way cooler. That's really neat. And actually, that gives me a good segue into this. Space Florida today, Space Florida is a government organization that kind of... that basically, what they do is... It's a government outfit that kind of oversees all the spaceflight activities in Florida. All the commercial spaceflight activities in Florida, I should say. Commercial, that's very important. So they announced, so this is coming from Mike Sheets, who is the reporter at CNBC. Space Florida announces it has broken ground on the first phase of development at its launch and landing facility, LLF, near Cape Canaveral, with 400 acres of property in the works. That's the shuttle landing facility, guys. They're going to build a spaceport at the SLF. That's really cool. That's really cool. So, if you're wondering what this is, so this runway 1533, just called the SLF for short, or LLF now, I guess, is a part of Kennedy Space Center, and it's where the space shuttle landed when it came back from space if it was landing in Florida. The SLF is right here. It's just northwest of the vehicle assembly building right here. Yeah, that's for sure. If you want to know how long this runway is, it's one of the longest runways around. I mean, we'll go threshold to threshold. That's really how you measure the runway. I mean, the runway has a slight displaced threshold right here, so, I mean, if we're going end to end, I mean, see those white lines? The white lines all the way across is basically where the runway starts. It's a little under 3 miles, or about 5 kilometers. Because the space shuttle was designed to land there. Space shuttle doesn't have very good brakes, because you have to keep the vehicle light. The brakes weren't that good, so just land it on a long runway. I've seen this. I've seen the SLF. I've been like all up in here. It's really, really big. It's bigger than you think. That is a very, very wide runway. But, yeah, it's a biggin'. It's a really big runway. Yeah, they're going to build out, I guess, hangars and stuff here. Once again, just like, I mean, Space Perspective is definitely going to operate out of here. That's what they said in this article. They're going to operate at the LLF. So they're going to launch balloons out of here. But I'm still trying to understand, like, what's the rest of this for? What are all these hangars for? Is, like, Skylon going to fly out of this or something?
Go at throttle up.
Space Florida surprisingly owns a lot of things. Yeah, Exploration Park. Yeah. Let me see. Hey, Zonku, 36-month resub. Sure, Illness. So LC20 is... Didn't they... Isn't 20 sold? Didn't they lease that to Firefly? Was it Firefly? I don't know. Private Area 51 stuff. There's Exploration Park. That's where OneWeb produces their satellites, and Blue Origin, amongst other things. Blue Origin produces their everything there. What's the longest runway in the U.S.? Homey Airport, dude. 7 miles long. Probably not anymore. It used to be 7 miles. No. So, that's one of the longest ones, the SLF. Vandenberg's runway is the same size as that. Yeah, it's not in use anymore. Homey Airport had a runway that was 7 miles long. Or at least I thought it was 7 miles long at one point. 6. That's a long way. That's a very, very, very long runway. Why is it that long? Short answer, it's that long because they used it for testing SR-71s and A-12s. Yeah, this is... So, Homey Airport, or Groom Lake, or Homey Airport, which is at Groom Lake, is a extension facility, or an extended facility for Edwards, which is out here. Edwards is over here. Edwards does have a long runway. It's a very long one. 1533 at Edwards is really, really long. I don't know exactly, but let's see. Yeah, that's 5. Those ones are 4. And then the main runway right here where the shuttles would have landed. If you go to the threshold for the shuttle, it's 5 miles long. Those are really long runways. Yeah, Homey Airport, KXTZ. I think is what it's called. KXDA, not Z, excuse me. So Groom Lake. That's where they tested the SR-71. They wanted to test it out where nobody was around. They did... They just do advanced aerodynamic testing there, guys. I know, everyone's going to be like, you know, the aliens. Yeah, Site 4, yeah, I get it. That's what we do know. They did A-12 testing there in the late 50s, early 60s. Wouldn't surprise me if China had a longer runway around. Yeah, who cares? They also tested, see, they did flight testing. Check that out. What's wrong with that picture? The nose? Not enough afterburner? I mean, always. Too grainy? Ulyanovsk-Vostochny Airport is 5 kilometers long, which I find insane. White Star? Wing? You guys just overlooking the fact that there's a MiG-21 right there with a U.S. Air Force logo on it? Everyone's like, what? The nose is wrong. It's freaking MiG-21. They did testing and evaluation for a lot of different things at Area 51. There, look at that one. That just looks strange to me. Like, seeing a MiG with a white star on it instead of a red star is just strange. Sukhoi 17, not MiG-21. MiG-21 F-13. I don't think that's a Sukhoi. It kind of looks like it. That variant of a MiG-21 has a weird nose. Oh, and there's Half Blue. Half Blue was insane. Yeah, see? There's Groom in the background. They do all flight testing out there, man. That's really what's going on. I mean, the conventional stuff that we know that's going on, dude. I don't know what else is going on there. I don't really care. There's probably something ridiculous, like some X-Files stuff, but like, here's where I'm at with that thing. Like, while we're here, right? Here's where I'm at. If the Space Force or whomever, or the Department of Defense or whatever, came out and said that, like, all we do is flight testing there, you can go look, that's all we do. All we do is flight testing. I'd be like, all right, cool, sweet. Simultaneously, they came out and said, oh yeah, no, we got alien spaceships. Oh yeah, no, that thing that crashed at Roswell, yeah, we got that. We're trying to reverse engineer. We have no idea what it is. But it is cool, right? Like, we're trying to figure out how that works. I'd also be like, yeah, sure, I believe that. Absolutely. Like, because I basically would have the same reaction either way, I don't really care. You know, like, if they were like, oh yeah, no, we have alien spaceships. Yeah, we have no idea how they work. Yeah, we're trying to figure it out. I'd be like, dude, sweet. Can we use that to, like, go to Mars or something? If you figure it out? That would honestly be my first question. Not, oh my gosh, aliens exist. I'd be like, no, whatever. How's that propulsion system work again? You know, like... I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens. The chance that aliens came here to crash is kind of slim. What if the ships that they send aren't actually ships? Because what if they're like probes, right? What if it's like a drone ship, like some kind of drone ship, like a Trimaxian drone ship, like, and it has, it crashed because it was surveying some local fauna. False, you would say, can I help? I'd be like, yo, let me fly it. I'd be like, Blue, let me fly the thing. Let's do it. I'm in. Yeah, of course, Tessa's Raiders of the Lost Ark stuff. Euroflora, got him. Zonku, right? Yeah, Ando, I kind of almost think that that's what's going on. We're the freaking ants, dude. I don't think we're being Prime Directive. I think if there's aliens out there, they don't care. They don't care. If you have the ability to jump from solar system to solar system, is a bunch of primates on a freaking planet that can barely get to their closest celestial body a threat to you? No. It's just like you walking down the sidewalk seeing an anthill. It's just like, all right. Right? Anyway, let's get to the next thing. So I think the rest of this is just Elon Musk crap posting on Twitter, which, man, he's been feisty lately. Proceeds to get the magnifying glass. Well, let's just hope that no aliens are sociopathic. Once again, Native, I've always said, dude, if there's aliens out there, I want to be the species that discovers them and not vice versa. Because if it's vice versa, then we got a big problem. I want Star Trek, not Independence Day. Understand? What if they're like predators and hunt us for fun? I'd believe that. Lisa, I believe anything. The universe is too big. The universe is too big and too vast. It's highly unlikely that there isn't some kind of sentient life out there somewhere. We also simultaneously know that the universe is a violent, chaotic place where stuff is constantly exploding, other things are crashing into each other, and stuff's generally just making a mess. It's a messy place up there. Okay? We're in relatively calm waters being next to a star, right? There's got to be something. Got to be something out there. Let's just hope it's not something like the Flood from Halo or something. Let's just hope it's like the Vulcans. Like, that would be really nice. I would take Predators over the Independence Day aliens. Fair. Could humans be the first intelligent life in the universe? Lunprod, that's just straight probability. Maybe, but it's unlikely with how old the universe actually is from what our current understanding is. Like Teletubbies. I mean, that would really... If Teletubbies turned out to be aliens, then I would just be a little upset. I'd be like, oh. Alright. My theory is that the reason why we haven't seen anyone else is because they're hiding from something. Yeah, Tars, I'd say that's equally as plausible too, as strange as it may be. Yeah, Endo, that's most likely what's going on. There could have been entire other civilizations. An entire civilization, thousands of years, you know, millions of years, and it's a freaking skid mark on the freaking pages of universe history. You know? We should go out there and figure it out, though. Anyway, let's get back to real space news. We should go and figure that out. I'd say we should get on that. We should probably get on that. What if we're a creation of aliens? Oh, man, that'd certainly probably piss a lot of people off, Arcsign, if we were created by an alien species. Yeah, that would piss off a lot of people. Wouldn't piss me off, though. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Are we like anything else on this damn planet? No. I mean, there's primates and stuff, and there's other mammals, I suppose, so that kind of disproves that theory, I guess. But there's stuff like amphibians that are completely different than us, you know what I mean? The truth is all too far away to matter. I mean, there are ways we can get there, cooking. Just got to figure out how that whole universe works. We basically need to reverse engineer the universe's game engine and then figure out how to warp stuff around. That'd be useful. Anyway. There's a conspiracy theory that says we're all created by aliens from a planet that crosses Earth's path every couple million years. Alright. Space Florida still owns, but subleased to Firefly. Got it. Gary's mod, Earth. Pretty much, Dish. Yeah. That's all that physicists do. That's all a physicist is. A physicist is literally playing Gary's mod in real life. And you know what? That actually sounds fun. Can we do that? We should do that. Anyway. So, let's see what's going on here. So there is this really great thread yesterday. Elon says rapidly reusable rockets. And he's talking about turning around the rockets. And then somebody said, Tory Bruno, can you compete with this? And Tory Bruno said, yes, we already have. We've won over 30 missions. And then Elon got really, really mad at that. ULA would be dead as a doornail without the two-launch provider Department of Defense requirement. If this is not true, then you wouldn't have a problem removing it. Oh dear. Your parent company, Lockheed, darkened the skies with lobbyists to ensure the F-35 was a single-source contract. Seems a little inconsistent. Whoa. Now this sort of nonsense happens all the time with government contracts and everybody knows it. However, in this case, it is money diverted from making life multiplanetary, which is the goal of SpaceX versus the ULA goal of maximizing dividends to Lockheed and Boeing. Not okay. Class response from the coolest CEO. Tweet is deleted. What did he say? I don't know why he deleted it, and then retweeted it over here. Tory Bruno said, competition is healthy for industry and customers. Our nation is better off for having a broader industry base we now enjoy as a result of competition. I congratulate you on your considerable accomplishments. We are also proud of ours. Why did he delete his classy response? And then Elon said, your company said the exact opposite in 2014 when it got a sole source, uncompeted $11 billion Department of Defense launch contract. In any event, expendable rockets are as relevant to the future as expendable aircraft. Rapidly reusable rockets are all that matter. John is a master crap poster. That's hilarious, dude. Oh my god. Alright, so, lot to unpack here. Oh boy. Okay. So, where do we start? So, I think it's important to understand why ULA exists, okay? A little bit of a history lesson here, okay? To understand the context of this. And guys, I'm not taking a side here. I want more rockets. I kind of, if anything, kind of agree with Tory Bruno here. Competition is healthy for the industry and for customers. And there's a caveat to that I'll mention in a moment, okay? So, looks like Branson is trying first. Space race heats up. Richard Branson will be on Virgin Galactic's next space flight scheduled to fly from Spaceport America on July 11th. Cool. All right. Hear me out, dudes. So, a little bit of a history lesson, okay? Rewind back to 1997, okay? All right, 1997. The dot-com bubble crashes. The dot-com bubble bursts, all right? The U.S. from basically 1991 to 1997 with the kind of invention and optimization and implementation of the internet, U.S. from 91 to 97 had an unprecedented time in economic growth. Like gold rush levels of economic growth. And that bubble burst in 1997. So, tech companies took a dump. Everything went into the toilet because the dot-com bubble burst, okay? Now, I'm not an economist. You'd have to talk to like Stock Guy or something to look into this a little bit more. Great streamer, by the way. Cornbread, 19-month resub. So, the launch market, the commercial space launch market, which was trending upward with the dot-com bubble because tech companies wanted to launch satellites into space for internet radio, internet communications, satellite TV, satellite phones. That saw a residual market demand go down. So the dot-com bubble bursting virtually eliminated demand for launches overnight. Like, the launch market crashed, like absolute worst case scenario. So, demand virtually dried up. So the U.S. at the time, and this was a blanket effect basically across the board. The U.S. at the time had, like, how many carrier rockets were we using for commercial flights? Lockheed had the Atlas 2A and the Atlas 3 and was rolling out with Atlas 5. Boeing and McDonnell Douglas merged that year, so Delta 3, or Delta 2, Delta 3, and Delta 4. So that's 3 launch vehicles. Lockheed had 2. And then I think that's all of them. And actually Titan was still flying, and I think Titan was Lockheed Martin as well at that point because Lockheed Martin absorbed Martin Marietta, but that's another story. So you have all these rockets, all these heavy lift. These are not small rockets. Atlas 2 and Atlas 3, Delta 2, Delta 3, Delta 4, Atlas 5. These rockets are really, these are not small rockets, okay? So the industry the launch demand virtually went belly up. That's part of the reason why the X-33, for instance, which was an up-and-coming launch vehicle, got canceled. The X-33, the Delta Clipper, they all went down the drain because the launch market took a dump. It got so bad that in the early 2000s, all right? In the early 2000s, there was no demand for anything anymore. So, there was no demand for rockets anymore. It wasn't profitable to have these rockets, right? It wasn't profitable. The rocket takes too much time. The pads are too expensive to maintain because the demand is nothing. We're talking like 1 launch a year. That makes no sense to keep, from a business standpoint, that makes no sense to keep it going. That's stupid, right? So what happened is that the demand dried up so ridiculously much that Lockheed and Boeing started spying on each other to see, like, oh man, if anybody's going to launch, they're going to launch on their rockets. So they started peeping on each other, and then they got caught. They got caught for industrial espionage. The U.S. government caught them. And that, coupled with the fact that demand dried up, the government basically consolidated the entire U.S. launch industry into ULA. They said, no, there's no demand, but we still need to launch things into space. So out of your fleet of rockets, Lockheed, and your fleet of rockets, Boeing, you pick the rockets that you want. Each one of you is going to pick a rocket, and we're going to have redundant dissimilar architecture, and you're going to operate them under one company. So they basically, the government in the mid-2000s, when I was in high school, basically monopolized the launch market in the U.S. because the launch market crashed. Now, why would they do that? They did that because the Air Force, under the Evolved Expendable Launch Vehicle program, needs 2 ways to get into space. 2 ways. That's very important. If one rocket fails, right, you have the other one to be able to launch satellites into space if one rocket has a problem, all right? The reason why you need to have what's called assured access to space is a lesson that the Air Force learned in 1986. The Air Force in the early 80s was going to just get rid of all their expendable launch vehicles and opt for full reuse with the space shuttle. And then the space shuttle had a problem and they had to re-engineer it after Challenger exploded. And it was down for 2 years and the Air Force couldn't launch spy satellites into space for a couple of years. The Air Force said, holy crap, panic mode, get those expendable launch vehicles back, we need those now. And they made the Evolved Expendable Launch Vehicle program. There was an Air Force colonel that you might know that oversaw that program in the late 80s into the early 90s. His name's John Insprucker. Yeah, just on a side note. So, the Air Force always wants 2 launch vehicles. Always. No matter what. Cost is irrelevant. So what they did was, basically, they paid ULA. They paid ULA to keep their pads operational. Maintain the pads, maintain a healthy amount of rockets, redundant dissimilar architecture. And they paid them to do it. And ULA said, sure, we can do that, no problem. And the industry basically stagnated from like 2005 to 2011. It basically stagnated badly. ULA basically, in the 90s, Boeing and Lockheed were launching commercial satellites into space. They were Delta, I think it was Delta, was launching Iridium satellites left and right, just like SpaceX did a couple of years ago. The industry was flourishing like crazy, and then the dot-com bubble burst. All right? So, now, fast forward to when SpaceX comes along. SpaceX in 2014 basically said, look, we have a rocket that NASA helped us design that has the opportunity to be fully reusable and can do everything that ULA's rockets can do. The only reason it can't do what ULA's rockets can do is because you haven't certified it to do what ULA's rockets can do. And SpaceX lobbied the trash out of the US government to be able to compete for national security launches. There was a hearing in 2014 where, the guy, Tory Bruno's predecessor and the CEO of ULA, was talking about launch criteria in terms of success and failure. And Elon Musk was at this hearing. And he was talking about it, somebody asked him a question about, a rocket underperforming and the mission almost failing. And he said, we don't count that as a failure because even though the rocket didn't do what we wanted it to do, the mission was still successful. And then they asked Elon the same question. You had a Falcon 9 that had an engine go out and you weren't able to put a secondary payload into the right orbit, right? You weren't able to put a secondary payload in the right orbit because your engine went out. And he said, yeah, but by ULA's definition, that mission was successful even though we lost the second payload. That virtually obliterated that guy. The board removed him as CEO after that and replaced him with Tory Bruno. Yeah. Oops. He made not a good choice of words, man. Not a good choice of words. So, hey, freshman, 19-month resub. So, John is in SpaceX, John. Yes, Alleviate. Yeah, that John Insprucker. Yeah, he oversaw the program that got us Atlas V and Delta IV. John knows what he's talking about. He's very, very smart. Hey, you got any gardening tips? My cherry tomatoes aren't doing well. Cherry tomatoes, you need water, Spiffy. You need water. A lot of water, and you need to give them a stalk to grow on. They got to have a tall stalk. You have to get the cherry tomato to spread out. I actually do know about that because my dad grows cherry tomatoes in his backyard. You got to give them a lot of water. It's dry out there. Give them a lot of water and make sure they get a good amount of sunlight, but not too much. The tomatoes will they'll wither away, writhe up. I don't know. They'll get all crinkly. Thanks, man. A lot of water, a lot of sunlight, dude, but not too much. When the tomatoes first start budding, I guess, not a botanist, sorry. They want to be like bright green, like really green. That's how you and keep them like that. Try to keep them like really, really like lime green almost. And then they'll turn red when they're ready to go. Wilt, that's the word. Anyway, so back to ULA. So Tory Bruno came in 2015, right? And what he did basically was he trimmed a lot of legacy procedures off of ULA. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that ULA is competitive with SpaceX. I don't know the answer to that question. I can't conclusively say if they are or aren't. Tory Bruno basically strategically positioned United Launch Alliance to be the premier provider for launching Department of Defense payloads, right? That's basically what he did. He pivoted the company because I think he knew that he couldn't necessarily compete with Falcon 9. So I'm pretty sure that ULA took a direction to target Department of Defense payloads as their primary source of income. Not a bad idea. Sure. Okay. As opposed to SpaceX, which is just drive the price down as much as possible and launch everything. I don't think that, it took Tory Bruno some time to pivot ULA. People used to freaking hate them. People used to hate ULA. They would give ULA as much crap as they give Boeing nowadays with SLS, and even that's starting to stop, which is good. So he basically turned the company. I'm not going to say he turned the company around, but he did do a lot of optimizations. Like one of the things that Tory Bruno implemented was a standardized software system between Atlas and Delta to drive launch costs down. There's a single piece of avionics, right? There's a single avionics package that can either be tailored for Delta. It's a modular avionics, a modular GNC that can be used for Atlas or Delta. So instead of making two separate guidance and control systems, because they don't have to do that anymore because there's Falcon 9, they can consolidate down. He's done a lot of things to bring the cost of these rockets down, right? I mean, not as much as Elon Musk, if you want to be very clear about it, right? So, so that's kind of where we are to this day. ULA is strategically positioned for Department of Defense contracts, and SpaceX is strategically positioned to destroy the launch market. And I mean that. I actually mean that in an endearing way. That's what you got to do. You want to innovate. You want to change the industry. You want to bring something to the table. That's how you got to do it. And I think Elon's right for doing that. And I think that Starship is the right move, to be honest with you. Simultaneously at the same time, okay? ULA is cautiously pursuing reuse with rockets in a way where they can still maintain their integrity with expendable launch vehicles, but also they're future-proofing their designs to be able to be reusable in a way down the road. Swishio, 14-month resub. Thank you. Disrupt. Yeah, Graham, that's the tech company buzzword, right? So, go a little bit further to, what was it? I think it was last year. I forget. The National Security Space Launch Program replaced the Evolved Expendable Launch Vehicle Program. The EELV program got sacked. And ULA no longer got their, they no longer got the money because the demand for the industry came back, right? Essentially. They no longer got their contract, and it is a contract. Don't call it a subsidy. They didn't have that to maintain the pads anymore, okay? So that forced them to innovate, so they came up with Vulcan. And they entered their Vulcan rocket using BE-4 engines into the National Security Space Launch Program as a rocket that could be selected, all right? So did SpaceX with Falcon 9, for what it's worth. Now, the National Security Space Launch contract, all right, goes like this. This is the very, very, very short gist of it. I've read most, about as much as you can read about it without, like, nerding the heck out. The gist of it is this. NSSL is guaranteed launches for the Department of Defense from 2022 to 2028. It is a guaranteed contract to launch a guaranteed amount of Department of Defense missions for those 6 years. The contract is split 60-40. So one of them is going to launch 60% of the missions and another one is going to launch 40. When NSSL was awarded, there were 4 competitors. There was Northrop Grumman with their Omega rocket, which used a bunch of segmented solid rocket boosters. That's the one I actually like. SpaceX with Falcon 9, Blue Origin with New Glenn, and ULA with Vulcan, which ironically is using the same engines as New Glenn, but that, whatever. Long story short, ULA got selected for 60%, SpaceX got selected for 40%, and Elon was pissed about this. Rightly so. He was pissed. Because in his mind, he has an equally performing rocket that's reusable at a lower price point. And now, don't get me wrong, he could be launching these missions at a loss, but that doesn't matter if you're going to underbid the other guy, right? Hey, anyways, could you throw up a small box stream of Super Heavy being lifted? I'm at work and the comp blocks YouTube. Yeah, Bobby, when I'm done here. So that's kind of where we're at today. But there's 2 things to consider. ULA basically has a rocket that does more or less the same thing as Falcon 9. It could be partially reusable, right? And ULA got paid more money to do a little bit more of the launches, but from what I understand, it's not proportional to SpaceX, but I don't know that for sure. So basically, you'd think that if you look at it on paper, you'd think that the rocket that is fully reusable, that can do relatively the same thing, I would say that Centaur is more precise at putting stuff into orbit than Falcon 9's second stage, but that's another story. Centaur is basically cheating, for what it's worth. Like, that's as close as we got to breaking physics right now. It's a really good design. So you have your fully reusable rocket that can do most of these missions, right? That's less expensive. You have a could be partially reusable rocket over here that can do all of the missions very, very precisely, right? That's more expensive, right? But, like I said, Tory Bruno positioned the company to tailor their kind of business to Department of Defense payloads and NASA payloads, right? So they got awarded the 60%, SpaceX got awarded the 40%, right? It's still an insane amount of money. The NSSL contract is billions of dollars of profit, right? So Kato, what are you guys listening, or crane assisted takeoff? Oh, I get it. There it goes. Super Heavy's up in the air. That's really neat. We'll watch that in a moment, fellas. So that's kind of where we're at today. Couple of things to consider here, okay? Look. Now, if Elon's mad about ULA getting the majority of the contract, the 60% of the NSSL, I guess he has a right to be pissed off about that. Not I guess, he definitely does. However, couple of things to consider. And here's where however you want to look at this, I don't have any overarching point. It's just important to know the story up until now, okay? But if I was going to make a point about this, here's the point that I'm going to make. Remember when I said that the Air Force will always want 2 launch providers? Always. They will always want redundant dissimilar architecture, which is smart. That's the right way to do things. I agree with them on that one. In that regard, Elon Musk could make a rocket that costs $1 million to put 100 tons in space. Starship could do everything that Elon Musk says it could do, and ULA would still get a contract for a rocket that costs more, is potentially partially reusable, and can place stuff into more precise orbits. Doesn't matter. They're always going to exist because the Air Force wants 2 ways to get into space. BN3 is in the air. Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, I got you. Unless Blue Origin or Rocket Labs steps in. Of course, Kamer, sure. Congrats, you just overthought a Twitter dissing between 2 CEOs. Never mind. Never. Dude. Oh, dear. Here. This is what you want to see, right? Here, look.
And then they lifted onto this.
Here you go. There you go. I'll just be over here.
Prototype, but the final design will be cut.
And Johannes asking, why does it have COPVs when it is only meant to do pressure tests? The point of a COPV is to help maintain
it's
pressure
great,
in the
Steven.
tank.
Great
So
weather.
pressure testing does involve COPVs, actually. Doesn't necessarily mean a flight. And like Michael said, this one isn't flying. You can also see at the very top of the booster the points where they would have added grid fins, and of course there are no grid fins installed because it is not flying.
Yeah, Red 8, right?
And
What's up, Kim?
Question asking, could they potentially stack a Starship on top for test 2? They could if they had some
Now, Phil,
like
quiet
that they
here.
wanted to do.
We need to watch this
well,
tube.
The crane they're currently using to lift this booster onto the stand is probably not tall enough to get a Starship on top of it. And so unless they moved Franken crane from
thanks,
the
Bill.
orbital launch
I appreciate
site
it.
over, which I don't think they would because they're using it for the launch tower. So I think odds of putting a Starship on top of this particular booster are probably low.
I don't understand. I don't know, Hire. Don't worry about it, dude. It's fine. Turn the page.
At some point, they will.
That is a
want
big
to
old
that he
test
wants to have
article.
a Starship stacked on top of a booster by the end of the month. But that doesn't necessarily have to be Booster 3. That could mean.
I mean,
Booster
Red
4.
8, he might do that. Who knows?
And could do that over at the orbital launch site. So. Alfie said.
Hey, come back. Okay, hey! We need to watch this tube! This is important!
As well, they really increased the size of the Gs. I mean, technically, if it's going to stay on the ground, does it count as a GSE tank? What is a ground test booster if...
I was really enjoying the discussion. Yeah, no, it's no problem. I'd have to go... Gorthan, I purposely stopped midway through the Twitter thread because I needed to I wanted to bring everybody up to speed, but like I had like there was a bunch of people in chat that wanted to see this, and it's fine. It's okay. It's no problem. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Does this thing even have Raptors installed on it? It's just a big stainless steel tube. Why not just talk over it? I'd need to read the Twitter thread, dude. They're going to put Starship on top of one of those, Oba. Super Heavy and Starship are not small. Here, let me just see. Here, let me go back real quick. So, real quick, I know. We'll go back to watching the tube in a second. So, see, in this regard right here, I agree with Tori Bruno. Competition is better, even if one of them is going to exist because of a duopoly from the government. That's fine. That still creates competition and it could spur an industry. That's exactly what NASA's trying to do with Commercial Crew. So I actually agree with him on this one. But Elon said, you know, oh, your company said the exact opposite in 2014 when it got a sole source, uncompeted $11 billion Department of Defense launch contract. So, in any event, expendable rockets are as relevant to the future as expendable aircraft. Rapidly reusable rockets are all that matter. See, I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place here, because I absolutely 100% agree with Tori Bruno here, and I absolutely 100% agree with Elon here. Mom and Dad are fighting. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. I know, Swishio. It's not you, dude. Don't worry about it. It's all the other people that are like, hey, show's super heavy. So, hey, it is what it is, guys. I'm not upset. All good. Here, there's your tube. It's big, isn't it? Stop stealing my line. Yeah, let's remember what was said in 2014, and that opinion was changed since. Absolutely. Tori Bruno wasn't the CEO of ULA at the time. Yeah, guys, like, here's the thing. I ain't taking a side on this. Hell no. I agree with what Tori Bruno said, and I also agree with what Elon Musk said. Abso-freaking-lutely. I think that reusable rockets are the future. If we want to go further into space, we can't just toss our stuff into the ocean. That's absurd. I've always hated expendable rockets with a fiery passion. I grew up on the space shuttle. What do you want from me? Like, I think, dude, like, it needs to go up into space, and it needs to come back down. You need to land it, and then you need to be able to fuel it up and send it again. I agree with Elon 130% there. Like, probably more than anything. That's why I love going into depth with Starship stuff. Also, at the same time, though, you know, I want competition. Competition drives the industry. And if a two providers sourced government contract, even though one provider has Vulcan, and even though ULA has Vulcan and SpaceX has Falcon 9 and then maybe Starship down the road, that still spurred competition. Because if that competition didn't exist, if ULA didn't get that 60 contract, SpaceX would consolidate the market. Look at how many payloads they're launching. But then again, it ain't Elon Musk's problem if the other guy is bidding too high. If he underbids everybody and he has a rocket that can do the same thing, the question stands, like, why the hell are you choosing the other rocket then? See what I mean? A lot of people are falling over here, a lot of people falling over here. I'm in the center. I agree with what Elon says about reusable rockets, and I also agree with Tori Bruno that competition is good. You need to have competition in any industry. I do not want SpaceX consolidating the launch industry. I don't want that. And that's why I think that ULA will always exist. Or there will always be two providers. It doesn't matter if one provider can launch a kilogram into space for $1 and the other one launches a kilogram into space for $10,000. That does not matter. There will always be two because of redundant dissimilar architecture. You're never going to not have that happen. Even with airplanes, with how the Air Force awards contracts for airplanes, right? You have the C-130, you have the C-17, and you have the C-5. So small, medium, and large, right? Can a C-5 move what a C-17 can do? Sure, absolutely. Can a C-17 move what a C-5 can? Yeah, within reason. Sure. Why not? One can do what the other can do, but for transportation, it's important to have redundant dissimilar logistics. That's why the Lockheed C-5 and the Boeing C-17 are, one, two different companies, and two, dissimilar architectures. That's done on purpose. Always two, there are. No more, no less. Competition drives innovation. I agree. SpaceX wanting to compete for Department of Defense contracts is part of the reason why we got Falcon 9. It's part of the reason why we got Raptor as well. Hey, Chad, I need a question. Hey, okay, what's that? Is it safe to... It is safe to answer to now. This is something I don't understand from one of Elon's tweets. They both got contracts to launch national security satellites, not making life multiplanetary. So I don't really understand Elon's argument. Macro picture, Phil. He's looking at the macro picture like he always does. So in the specific context of that, yeah, it doesn't make sense when you're talking about making life multiplanetary for national security launches. But he's talking about the industry as a whole. That's why he says, you know, reusable rockets will be a thing of the past. What's that, Crystal? Hey, Chad, I need help from someone that can answer some question about how we communicate from land to a submarine. Satellites. Satellites, Crystal, long story short. Competition won't drive innovation. Simple. Competition is key. Agree. I do agree Elon needs to be extra careful to make sure he's not trying to create a monopoly on the space industry. Yeah, Bandit, I think he's expecting people to compete with him. But once again, I'm not about to sit here and second guess Elon Musk. That's stupid. I think he knows that there will always be two providers, but I think this rhetoric that he's saying is trying to get ULA to compete with him with reusability. I think that's what he's trying to do, if I had to guess. Because at face value, it seems like he doesn't understand that there needs to be two dissimilar providers. And there's no way Elon Musk doesn't know that. That guy is a lot of things. He is extremely smart, extremely intelligent. There's no way he hasn't considered that. That guy's way too smart for that. It seems like ULA is failing to keep up. Van, they don't have to keep up. They don't have to. I mean, Blue Origin might eclipse them, yeah, maybe. But it's not just about the rocket's capability, Van. There's also facilities and stuff. Like, for instance, can SpaceX vertically integrate a payload right now? And now, don't get me wrong, they will do it. Part of the NSSL contracts, Van, was an award for a mobile service tower so they can vertically integrate payloads on Falcon Heavy. But also at the same time, you think the Air Force is going to wait for that? No, they want access into space right now, at any given time. See what I'm talking about? ULA doesn't have to compete. And I think that's why Elon is getting pissed off. It actually makes sense now that I talked that one out. Do you think the full stack will fly this month? I'm thinking August, Doom. The reusable stuff is why I do not care about SpaceX. Why I did not care about SpaceX when I first heard of them. Sounded just like a step back from the shuttle landing. The Falcon 9 wasn't. Yeah, Kinder, I know what you mean. SpaceX has proven that reusability is key if you have the demand to launch. That's very important. Starlink basically makes Falcon 9 reuse economically viable, and you get a revenue stream from having an internet satellite constellation. Now, SpaceX is probably launching at a loss if I had to guess, but that doesn't matter because Elon's a macro player. He's a macro player. He plays for the late game. Can I ask about your schedule around racing? Sure. Scary, competition is required for healthy industry, but forcing competition is always going to be awkward. What other way are you going to do it, Scary? I mean, if commercial crew didn't exist, would we have 2, potentially 3 ways to get into space with crew right now? No. Sometimes that's what's needed. Government did that with the airline industry in the 30s. And in fact, it wasn't even the airline industry yet. The government paid people to make long-range aircraft to move mail around. And that eventually they parried that into making bombers for World War II, long-range bombers. Yeah, that paid off. That was a good idea. And then after that, they used that technology to make jetliners and passenger planes. And we have the commercial airline industry. All started because someone wanted to move their mail around quicker. SpaceX's model of working can only work in a competition-based market, otherwise their way is irrelevant. Pretty much. I'm going to my first launch, which is going to be a CST-100, so Starliner. Do you have any recommendations? Playa Linda Beach. If he's looking at the macro picture, he should be trying to get ULA on board with improving rocket regulations, not throwing a fit on Twitter. Yeah, Maximal, but... See, Max, here's the thing. We all kind of just pass the buck on, like, Elon, like he's having a knit fit. Oh, it's just another billionaire having knit. Don't you think he's smarter than that? Like, once again, I mean, Tory Bruno has shown that he's very, very intelligent. I would love to talk to him, but I would also like to talk to Elon. I think Elon is, I mean, like, Max, and I'm not trying to speak up. I'm not trying to, speak for him because that's stupid. Also, look at that picture. Seven segments right there with Super Heavy next to it. I'm not trying to speak for Elon, but can you imagine how much bull crap that guy actually has to deal with on a day-to-day basis? Honestly, I'm amazed he hasn't just completely lost his mind. Can you imagine how much crap he has to deal with? Like, I mean, you know, he ain't just a billionaire that's just sitting on his laurels. The guy works his tail off. It's like saying everybody should focus on Earth problems before going into space. Elon wants everyone to focus on becoming interplanetary. Yeah. Mm-hmm. By that logic, shouldn't he be mad at the Department of Defense and not Tory Bruno? Yeah, Blue, but once again, I refuse to believe that it isn't misplaced. You know what I mean? Like, he has to be taking that into account, dude. Elon's way smarter than that, man. Like, this guy built Tesla from the ground up. You think he would? Do you honestly think he wouldn't have like a fit on Twitter? Like, he would have a fit on Twitter just because his feelings were hurt? No. I mean, well, maybe. I don't know. I don't think so. I think he's way smarter than that. Guys, I can't keep up. You guys are all asking really good questions. The new VIF. Yeah, there you go. Yep. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly why ULA isn't going reusable. They don't have to. He actually released rough numbers for Falcon 9 cost. Tech Discord DM. Okay. Agreed. You have to compete. You have to. The competitive side will always be angry. Yep. So the other day I found out how to overclock engines, and now I made a custom Nerva engine. Nice. Market, that's cool. I'm way far behind in chat. I tried to keep up. Yeah, AD, he's a businessman. That's what I mean. He wouldn't go and crap post like that on Twitter. Okay, Elon knows good and well what happens when he says something about something that's related to the economy on Twitter, okay? I'm pretty sure that the government got pissed at him for doing that. So there's no way he doesn't know. So my guess, and once again, I don't speak for the guy. I'm not Elon Musk. I don't know him. I'm just a fan. I like SpaceX. But once again, if you're going to run a business, I mean, you could say a lot of things, but you could say, I mean, I think it's fair to say that Elon Musk is a pretty damn good businessman. All right? So there's no way he would just throw a fit on Twitter. He knows the repercussions for not doing that. You know what I mean? It's calculated. I swear. Like, that's got to be it. The guy just engineered Falcon 9. He was the chief designer on Falcon 9. Like, end this thing. Like, come on. Yeah, Forge, it is pretty cool. Imagine if that was said by Rogozin. Oh, people would eat him up, dude. Now, Kem, I think Rogozin gets crap from all angles. That's pretty much undeserved. What he's done with Roscosmos is really good. Being smart doesn't mean you don't have emotional problems. I think we've seen enough mistakes from him to see that he's unstable. I get your point about him being under a lot of stress, but he's also a billionaire. You can find other ways to release stress than rage Twitter. I mean, Max, actually, yeah, that's a good point. The other thing is that I don't think he takes Twitter seriously after what happened with the SEC. So, I don't know. Is this booster the size of a Falcon 9 stack? Yep. He uses Twitter to advertise his product and ideas. I don't think he's even really mad. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Never meet your heroes? Oh, I'd still love to talk to Elon. Even if he was a jerk to me, Van, I'd still talk to him. Absolutely. Even if he said, EJ, you're an idiot, I'd be like, all right, cool, sweet. Can we talk about rockets now? I'd be like, yeah, I probably deserve that. Whatever. I don't care. Once again, I think Elon's trying to goad ULA into doing reusability, but I don't know. Yeah, I came here. I don't know. Maybe. Did anyone link this yet? Yeah, that's been linked, Blue. Mm-hmm. Stop typing paragraphs. I'm trying to keep up. You guys are going too fast. As soon as Elon launched the first Starlink satellites and demonstrated functionality, he immediately passed go, bought the board, and put hotels. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he bought Park Place and Boardwalk, dude. I agree with you on that one. I've been trying to figure out where the hold down points on the stand are. I've been trying to spend the last couple of days trying to figure out how that thing bolts to the pad. I can't figure it out. When I have something, I'll tell you. Okay, I saw your last. Did they just stack SN5 on top of SN6? I mean, maybe. Pickersmick, 6-month resub. All right, cool. I think I'm caught up. Sorry, I had to. There was a lot of good conversation there. I mean, yeah. Yeah, but does Tory seem like the kind of guy who would take ULA reusable just because Elon called him out on Twitter? No, Hillness. Tory Bruno's an engineer through and through to the very end. Look, you can't just change your business model overnight, all right? Doing that is a good way to go bankrupt, okay? You can't do that. Tory Bruno understands this. SpaceX kind of thought of reusability, at least as an idea, from the start. ULA did not. You can't just make Atlas V reusable. You can't just make Delta reusable. That's not how this works. Rockets take time, they take a lot of engineering, and to make them reusable, they take more time, more money, and more engineering on top of that. ULA with Vulcan is cautiously pursuing it. Tory Bruno can't just be like, yep, all of our rockets are going to be reusable from now on. And then you know what? If he said that, the Department of Defense would be like, all right, fine, we'll go with somebody else. Thank you very much. You see what I'm talking about? ULA's entire business plan is tailored to Department of Defense and government payloads. And once again, it's not just capabilities of the vehicle. It's facilities, it's production capability, it's your supply lines. All that stuff gets considered. Who's building your engines? Like, that's really important. It's not just, oh, my rocket can move more payload into space, or oh, my rocket's fully reusable. It's a lot more complicated than that. Reusability needs to be baked into a design from the start. You can't add it later. Agreed. And Vulcan does have partial reuse capability built into it. Tory Bruno said that multiple times on Twitter. Yeah, it's a freaking chonker of a freaking vehicle. You can't just say, oh yeah, Vulcan's going to be fully reusable and we're going to land it. ULA's business model is not tailored to doing something like that. Their entire factory, their whole production line is built around making expendable boosters. All right? Just because you own a fireworks factory doesn't mean you can go and make a reusable rocket. You know what I mean? An expendable rocket and a reusable rocket is two different things. It's going to take time for them to pursue reuse, but they're doing it. You know what I mean? But once again, where's the incentive to build a reusable vehicle if he's tailoring it for the government contracts and he got the contracts? You know what I mean? Like, so honest question about something to the contrary. What about Rocket Lab turning their booster from single use to reusable? Sure, it's a smaller scale rocket, but as far as I know, they never planned on it. No, it's something that they discovered from the data, Hokie. It's something that they discovered from the data. It was something that they didn't realize happened. Electron's first stage is being made out of carbon fiber. Has a very, very low ballistic coefficient. Basically, they're really frigging light. They're really freaking light, and carbon fiber is not fairly thermal resistant. It's a pretty good. It's not going to burn up. That's what I'm getting at. It won't burn up. And the rocket engines going business end first into reentry heat is no problem. They have a hotter explosion inside of them. So it was kind of an unforeseen thing with Electron. But you answered your question essentially. Small sats, dude. With a small sat launcher, you can afford stuff like that. If Electron was the size of a Falcon 9, it would be a lot more difficult to get that thing back. So, I mean, it does happen. Reuse has been retrofitted into rocket design in the past. It's happened, but not very often. Look at that, man. Do they keep this booster under pressure all the time? I do not think it's pressurized right now, Cooking, no. So once again, like, in terms of this whole debacle with them talking about this, talking about that, I agree with what Tory Bruno has to say, and I also very much agree with what Elon has to say. It's kind of a... I ain't picking a side. Screw that. I think what both of them are saying is correct. So it's kind of... Yeah. You guys come to your own opinions on that one. You know? Is the tower complete yet? One more segment on top of this one, Pops. That's insane. That's ridiculous. I mean, And like, I'll be honest, I'm a freaking huge ULA freaking fan and freaking fanboy, and I'm a big SpaceX fanboy. I like both of them. I don't care. I want more rockets, not less. And that's where I agree with Tori Bruno. You know, that same, I try to stay consistent on all this. I want more rockets, not less. I really, and the honestly, the truth is, I really don't care if they're expendable or not. More rockets, the better, right? I would want them to be reusable, but the more, the better. I love this. I love this, what's going on. It's amazing. I study this every day. But also, I study what SLS is doing as well. You know what I mean? So basically, that huge tube is like SN2. Kind of, I guess. How does this sound as a deal? 2 8-inch deep dish pizzas, 750-gram bag of fries, 2 dozen southern fried chicken nuggets, and a liter of sugar Coke for $7. Pizzas are kind of small, but all right, by American standards, I guess. I agree, Phil. Yeah. And the funny thing is when it comes to electric cars, I agree with a lot with what Elon Musk has to say. But I also have cars that have V8s. All my cars have V8s in them. Not exactly a model for fuel efficiency. Humans be complicated, bro. Anyway, NSF just stopped this. So we got 7 segments on the service structure, and Booster 3 was put on the test stand for ground testing. This is going to be a ground testing article. Do you have Russian stuff today? A little bit, Kem. I know something's going weird with Nauka. The Nauka launch got pushed a little bit. I'm going to end on that one there. Here, this one's coming from Anatoly here. Looks like the crane will need to be extended for the last tower segment. I think so, Starfleet, because it's not just the last tower segment. There's a lightning rod on top of that. So this is coming from Anatoly Zak. A critical launch of the Nauka module, so this multi-purpose science module to the ISS being launched by Russia will be postponed by several days from July 15th by a technical problem. What's Enix saying? The only and most important question arises, how is it possible to put signatures on the document without doing something? Uh-oh. Oh dear. I got it, Ref. I'm not too familiar with what that means, to be honest with you. Like, I know what it means, but is what Annik's usually pretty reputable when it comes to this stuff. Is what he's saying correct? I don't know. I'd have to figure out more. Anatoly Zak went off on it too. He said something, and Anatoly Zak runs Russian Space Web. It's like the NASA space flight for the Russian program. So he started posting pictures of Nauka with exposed sensors on it, and I don't know what that means. It gets weirder. Like, okay, let me read here. Let's see what we got here. I'll just put all the Russian news over here. So he started going off, he started posting pictures of exposed sensors and quote-unquote experts. Probably just checkups before encapsulating it in the fairing. It was already encapsulated. Oh. So wait, did they take it out of the fairing? Yeah, maybe someone took it off temporarily but forgot to put it back. Uh-oh. For context, why is exposed sensors a weird thing? I don't know, C22. That's what I'm getting at. I have no idea. Let me read. I'm serious. I don't understand what's going on here. Wait, what happened? That's what. Yeah, let me figure this out. Yes, it was on the way to being fueled. It's getting weirder still, but I see another area with exposed skin on the Nauka module right before fairing installation. Not sure how serious, but normally everything should be covered. So Anatoly Zak's pointing out all these different things. What's Katya saying? We are waiting for official information, but rumors are saying the launch of Nauka will be postponed. They say Nauka went for fueling with both infrared and star sensors. They say Nauka went to be fueled with both infrared and star sensors with no insulation on it. Oh, that explains why he's pointing out all the sensors. Yeah, there's no I'm launch now is set for the 22nd. I don't, guys, I'll be honest with you. I don't know enough. The last time a module like this got launched was 1998. Now, what does that mean in plain English? I was 10. I'm turning 33 in a week. The last time a module like this was launched was Zarya. So, as to the procedure, speaking to the procedure here, that could be right for all I know. I mean, Anatoly says it's wrong, so I'm inclined, or Anik says it's wrong. I'm inclined to believe him. But I thought you were 40, my bad. It's the mustache, isn't it, man? I don't care, I really don't. Age is just a number, dude. But that's easy to say when you're young, I get it. It's a mustache, huh? I turned 33 on the 5th, man. Dude, I'll get rid of it tomorrow. I'll show you. I look like a different person. You have a great mustache. Thank you, David Dose. You look like you're 20. I'll take that. Happy birthday. Spasiba. The Russian's floor is green. So I don't know if that's supposed to, those sensors are supposed to be uncovered. For, like, I would think you would uncover them before you encapsulate, right? Like, you should keep it. It adds character. Thanks, man. My girlfriend hates it. And will keep giving me crap until it goes away, which is really annoying. Love you, sweetie. God, if she's not watching, that would really suck. Anyway. Doctors hate him. Love you too, Simo. Elon's at it again, tweeting about ULA. Really? In the time that I just finished talking about that. Did he do it again? It's not supposed to be that way. Why did nobody notice? Are you sure? Like, how sure are you of this, Kem? Do you know that for sure? Like, I'm actually asking. No more shaving till Starship successful orbit. Nah, I'm good. Sensors should be covered for foreign object debris. If the sun tracker fails, you would get a Salyut 7 fiasco. Well, if you're about to encapsulate, wouldn't you want to take the protective cover off because the fairing is going to encapsulate it? That's what I'm wondering here. This is clearly right before encapsulation. You would want to take that off. It would have a red cap over it that says "Remove before flight." Am I wrong? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know enough about the procedures here to say conclusively one way or the other. I'm not sure. That's why I don't understand why they took it back for additional checks unless something else isn't right. Well, the sensor, like, that's what I mean, Kem. Like, and you would want to take the sensors off before you encapsulate the payload. You don't want a cover on your star sensor when it goes into space, right? Like, once again, I'm just using some deductive reasoning here. But if they brought it back and they didn't fuel the module and then they uncovered it with the fairing, yeah, you'd put, and they de-encapsulated it or decapsuled it. I don't even know if that's a word. If you're going to take it back out of the fairing, yeah, you'd want to put the covers back on. And maybe that's what Anatoly and Anik are talking about. You know, if you're gonna if you're going to take the fairing off, you have to put the covers back on. Because if dust gets in that star sensor, the star sensor could think that a speck of dust is a star on the lens, and it could, yeah, re-enter. Yeah, you don't want that. That would be bad. Unfaired it. Decapsulation? As I said, if it's uncovered during fueling, the sensors could get contaminated with vapors and particles. Yeah, but what if they fuel it in the fairing, Jaka? Talk about space. Will you play KSP? Yeah, Jay. Well, I talk about... We usually have a space news segment that goes for a little bit longer than like right now. But I played a little bit more Beam today, so I want to get through the rest of what's going on. It helps me understand what's going on in the space industry because I get asked questions about everything, dude. But yeah, we will play KSP in a little bit. Sure. Absolutely. Maybe they install the IMU upside down again. I mean, maybe PY. Do you think Dimitri would allow that? Dimitri seems like the kind of boss you really don't want to piss off. And his boss seems like the kind of guy that you don't want to piss off as well. You don't want to piss these guys off. That sounds like a bad idea. The star sensor is upside down. Well, there seems to be two, but Roscosmos said there was a defect. The new Nauka module sent back to testing assembly. This is coming from Interfax. I've never covered a story from Interfax, but okay. Moscow, July 1st. Interfax. Mr. Dimitri. Come on now, EJ. I'm not that bad of a boss. I didn't say you were a bad boss. I said don't piss you off. Differences. 21 months. Thanks, man. The multipurpose laboratory Nauka, due to be sent to the International Space Station in July, has been returned to the testing and assembly unit of the Rocket State Corporation Energia to address shortcomings, Roscosmos told Interfax on Thursday. Nauka has been returned to Energia's assembly testing corpus for the removal of a defective part. The launch of the Nauka module is planned for July 15th, 2021. The launch of this module has been postponed. They say supposedly postponed to the 22nd, so a week later. At first, there were plans to launch Nauka in 2017, but the launch was moved to 2018. Okay, yeah, we all know that. Okay. Module was built how long ago? I'm pretty sure this pressure vessel PY was built for Mir 2, so it's Soviet. It's old, man. I don't know anything about Interfax Bandit, so I don't know that. I mean, that sounds right. I have Elon Musk's tweets, Phil. Thank you. The pressure vessel is older than you. Okay, devil's advocate here for a second, because everybody seems, from what I've seen with all this reporting, everybody seems to be implying that Roscosmos is incompetent, and that may be the case. But let's go against the grain here. Another exercise in critical thinking, okay? Let's go against the grain here. Everybody's saying, oh, they're incompetent. They have the star sensors blocked, blah, blah. And they might be right. Let's just... in fact, I'm inclined to agree. Let's turn the page. Let's figure this out. Well, not turn the page. Let's play devil's advocate for a second. So, Roscosmos encapsulated the module. Then they moved it to be fueled. Fueling entails filling up the hydrazine thrusters on the module. They're right there. You can see them. They're red. This is the RCS. They're gonna fuel up the hydrazine systems. Now, here's my devil's advocate thing here. Okay. Kind of have to wait for a bit to hear a response. Kem, if there was a problem with some other sensor on the thing. First of all, why the heck would they detect it during fueling operations and not during testing? The kind of thing, the rumor that we've been hearing is that there's a defective part. If there was a defective part that wasn't associated with the fueling system, why would they have found it during fueling operations? Once again, just playing devil's advocate here. Like, It sounds like they went to. This sounds like they went to fuel the thing up, and they found a bent valve or something, and they just got to send it back to the testing chamber to replace it, and then they're going to fuel it again. We've heard from Katya that the delay is maybe a week at best. I don't think this is some big, oh, Nauka's screwed, it's broken, it's never going to fly in its... No, I mean, if all they did was move it back to the testing cell, take the fairing off, and, you know, quote-unquote replaced a part, it very much seems like they went to fuel the thing and something broke, or something was defective, which does happen, right? I'll play devil's advocate even more. This module was built in the 80s. The 80s. The pressure vessel on Nauka is as old as me. Really, it was built for Mir 2 with Zarya and Zvezda. It was just never launched because it was under construction when the Soviet Union collapsed. So it's Soviet architecture. How many parts for that thing are even made anymore? Much less operational, right? What else from the 80s is still produced today? Right? Like maybe a tire? That hasn't changed its design very much, you know? So, I mean, PY, yeah, I guess in Russia, I can't speak to how the Russian industrial base works. I mean, you guys would probably know that better than me. But once again, I'm like, what? I don't know. Do you guys know what devil's advocate means? It means argue on behalf of the thing that you don't agree with, right? You. Yeah, me. I'm not being manufactured anymore, though. I'm pretty sure that factory shut down after I was... Okay, yeah, we're going to stop that conversation. The parts are new. Yeah, the parts are new, Kem, but, I mean, they're based off of an old design. You know? Like, okay, so you're going to... So what if a factory in Russia just started making 2105 Ladas again? You think they'd just be able to just crap out Ladas and they'd be the same build quality? Well, you know what I mean. But PY's like, нет, это не хорошо, нет. Like, do you think that would be as good? No, it would take a second to get it back to at least the crappy build quality that it was, right? Like, it would take a second. Low bar. Yeah, but you know what I'm trying to say. So, like, once again, I mean, well, the right move here in this scenario with what's going on with Nauka is to just wait and see what Roscosmos says. But honestly, if they went to fuel it and it didn't fuel and they send it back to the test chamber and they took it out of the fairing, that means that so it could be a bent valve. They just replace the valve, put it back together, try to fuel it again. You know, sometimes to replace a part on a spacecraft, you got to remove other parts to get access to it. Similar to working on a hard-to-reach part in a car. That could be what's going on here. Insulation is usually the thing that gets pulled off to reach the substrate underneath. No, I honestly think that's what's going on here. If this was like James Webb or something, nobody would be batting an eye. They would probably just be giving crap that, it's going to take another week, you know, like implying that a week is a long bit of time in a spaceflight launch campaign, you know. And I'll admit, Nauka's launch campaign is longer than James Webb's, but you get what I'm trying to say. Hey, DJ. This is why it took them so long to finish it. Factories no longer existed that used to produce parts for such modules. Kem, that's what I'm getting at. You're gonna have production problems if you try to start building components from 1987, man. Like, I think that's a pretty fair thing to say. An ETA on James Webb. Q4 this year, T-Man, last I heard. Well, for James Webb, it would take another decade. Zonku, don't do that. Don't say that again. You're right, but also don't say that again. Why even launch it? Nauka, PY? I mean, there's the science yield, which could, you know, you could get some profit back from commercial science on it for the Russian commercial science sector. That might not be a thing, but you know what I'm trying to say. Dmitry wants some points. I mean, PY, the average Russian person might not think of it this way, but I mean, national pride, maybe. That's a lot of the reason why we do stuff over here, you know. And now the average Russian person might not think of that, but you know Dmitry does. He's really into that. He's a pretty hard nationalist, and I get it. Dude, I get it. Like, so you can finally move on. Yeah, Kem, send it. I agree. Finish the thing up. Gain some knowledge. Increase your knowledge base on how to build a space station module. Use what you learned here to build better space stations, and that seems to be what they want to do. Like, once again, I just have. That's if I would do the same thing. To be honest with you, if I was running Roscosmos, I would be doing the exact same thing. You know, and it would. You know what would be really annoying? People on Twitter are constantly telling me that I don't know what I'm doing. That would be very annoying. Dmitry is widely considered to be a corrupt politician in the general public. Unlikely he'd care about personal image. Yeah, Dmitry, I'm with you on that one. I get it. And, you know, his Rule 8 dealings aside, I think he actually gives a crap about the space program. Call me crazy. Call me crazy. And I've listened to what he said a lot, and I take into account what he said, and I've had guys here translate what he said a lot. I've listened to entire interviews. I go through some of them on stream sometimes, but I listen to when he talks to TASS, when he talks to R.A. Novosti. I listen to all of his interviews to just try and get a good gauge on where he's at. I think he actually likes space flight. I think he likes the space program. So, I don't know. Maybe he's willing to give it a good shot. I have no idea. You're not crazy. I think he actually gives a crap. You know why? Because his dad worked on the space program. He said that in interviews before. He said his dad worked on Buran. He was an engineer on it. So, I think he likes the space program in the same way like that a fan of SpaceX would like the space program, or a fan of rocketry in general. I think he's a space nutcase. I think it's just manifests itself in a slightly different way because he's running Roscosmos, you know? Yeah, he volunteered for it. I mean, also there's that whole money thing, PY. That's pretty good. But I actually think he gives a crap. I mean, I really do. I think he's a space nutcase. I think he likes space. So I mean, screw me, right? Like even remember when we watched Tiangong, when we watched the Tianhe launch, right? Professor Yang Yao Yang, you could tell that guy was getting fired up. Like, he's some guy that looks like he belongs on a poster in China, right? He's the big thick glasses. Like, he looks like some guy that should be on a poster in Beijing or something. But you could tell he was getting fired up. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. There's an enthusiasm towards space that manifests itself different ways from different cultures. With Americans, it's screaming mercilessly at the rocket. Well, maybe that's just me. You know, I think Dmitry likes the space program. Like, screw me, right? Like, that's the vibe that I get from him. Yeah, I mean, he has to deal with his boss, and yeah, obviously there's that whole money thing. Who doesn't like that? I get it. Like, but I think he actually cares. Khrushchev debt went from 150 billion rubles to 20-something billion rubles, and it happened in the last 3 years. That's what I'm saying, Kem. Just what I've seen from Roscosmos, it very much seems like he gives a crap. And I think that's why Roscosmos is doing so well. Because if it was just another corrupt politician, so to speak, running Roscosmos, nothing would get done. Nothing would get done. You'd see a brand new launch facility take 20 years to make, right? They'd hamstring the contracts to make more money. Like, same kind of bullcrap that happens over here, right? I mean, am I in the ballpark at all? Like, and believe it or not, you know, I say I'd like to sit down and talk with Tory Bruno and Elon Musk. I'd like to sit around with Dmitry. Seriously, I'd sit down and talk to him. I'm pretty sure someone in the State Department would get really mad if I do that, but I'd do it. I'd love to talk to him about space flight. That'd be great. We should hire some Russians to run our labs. There's actually a lot of Russian propulsion engineers working on small sat launchers over here nowadays. AD, there's not many places in the world where being a rocket scientist pays pretty well. The U.S. is one of those places. Russia is too, for what it's worth. Thomas, why are you in your brand new Mercedes? Pad is not done yet. That's literally what happened. Dmitry canned the guy that was overseeing the Vostochny project. He fired him because he showed up in a Mercedes one day. So, I don't know, dudes. That seems like very much like he actually gives a crap, which, hey, that's good. That's good for the Russian space program, I'll say. I mean, bull crap aside. I missed a bunch of space news. Did you cover the Krikalev story at all? I believe Dmitry personally worked on keeping him on board. Yep. Yeah. Why they removed him as chief of the cosmonaut, the chief cosmonaut kind of was a little weird. But yeah, I think I've met him, Dmitry. I've met Sergei Krikalev. He's cool. Cool dude. Yeah, I did cover that, dude. Chem in chat gives me a lot of space news from Russia to talk about. They kept his position. Yeah, I met him. The 2014 ISS RDC was in Boston, dude, and he was there. I've talked to him, dude. Really cool dude. I'm like, wow. Dude, I don't get starstruck. Like, I've seen celebrities before, been around celebrities, like, you know, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I get starstruck around astronauts and cosmonauts. I'm like, you've been in space. That's pretty cool. And I ended up, I did talk to Sergei Krikalev. Me and NASA man Sawyer was there too, and we ended up talking about like nothing. It was just small talk because I didn't know what to say. Straight up. I think I said something along the lines of, "Wow, it's really nice to meet you. You've done everything. You've flown on the space shuttle. You were on Mir. You've been on the ISS. That's really cool, man." And he's like, "Yeah, I know. It is cool." And then we talked about VR headsets or something, because I didn't know we didn't know what to talk about. I'm like, "Yes. Did you see that VR headset over there? That's really cool." And he's like, "Yeah, VR is really cool." I'm like, "Okay, bye. See you later." You can ask NASA man about that. That actually happened. That I'm not exaggerating that story. It was awkward as hell. And he's probably like, "Wow, you guys are all right. This is weird." VR headsets, yes, you know. It was 2014, Thomas. I didn't know how to keep my cool around astronauts then. Like, what do you want from me? I knew who he was. Right away, I'm like, oh my gosh, what? Another weird American, great. Probably. I'm pretty sure that's what Gennady Padalka said when I talked to him. Kem. He was probably just like, I was like, I talked to him about launching on Soyuz, and I'm like, hey, it's a great rocket. And he said, it's old. I'm like, that's it? He's like, yeah, it's old. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean it's old? And I have that on tape, too. I have that conversation recorded. I'm like, well, that's good. All right, cool. Yeah, Cherokee, right? Listen, oh, y'all, it's a sabotage. Yeah, right. Kulani, yeah, crazy. Yeah. It was weird. Yeah, drummer, hey, don't worry about it, no rush. Alright, anyway, let's keep going. I don't know what's going on with Nauka, but I do know what's going on with Ingar's pad, so let's check this out. Yes, that looks like a flame trench. So this is a new Russian heavy lift rocket, third. Wait a minute. This is a new Russian heavy lift launch vehicle pad, Ingara. Ingara is a design that's very heavily influenced by the Ministry of Defense. So Ingara in Russia would be like, the equivalent would be like Vulcan from ULA. This is the pad getting worked on here. There's the flame trench right there. It's coming along, dude. There's the deflector. It's coming along. It's getting there. You're a flame trench. No, you. Also, Ferd. Toyota Tundra? That's weird. Volume warning, but have you seen this before? Yeah, I've read about those. The wiggly wings. That's a Tundra. What the hell is a Tundra pickup doing out there? I mean, I'm not. That's a great pickup truck, and I'm saying that as a Ford guy. It's a great pickup. What's this thing? Is that a Ford Explorer? That's a Ford Explorer. What's that doing there? And then there's a Lexus over there, and then a box with some wheels. I can't tell what that one is. It's hard to say. Lost in Siberia. I mean, Fords though. Nice. Exploring? Sure. Do we have the sizes on this? Well, there's a crane right there. It looks like there's a telescoping crane right there, Goalie. I don't know what, I mean, the staircase right there should be a dead giveaway. It's a pretty big flame trench, dude. It's called the Tundra for a reason. I mean, that makes sense, dude. That makes sense. Kem, the funny thing is those Tundras, that truck, the white truck over there on the left, that's made in Texas. It's the only place they make those things. Man, that thing came a long way. Isn't that an Expedition? It does look like a Ford, but I can't tell. Is the Starship re-entry test still aimed for August? Yep. It's Putin's new bunker. Nah, too far away from his house, man. Feel right, he's too far away from Dacia. Not good bunker. Alright, here's another angle from it. This is from Dmitry himself. Well, the State Commission and the Combat Launch crew are preparing to launch... Okay, well, Roscosmos and ground teams are preparing to launch 36 spacecraft with the Soyuz 2 rocket. An even more powerful Angara launch vehicle complex is being built around the clock just down the road, basically. 1.5 kilometers away. Alright, let's see what we got. You like that, Apollo? Yeah, cool. That shot from before was down here behind my head. It was right here. You could see those job boards, I guess, right there. And then there's the Tundra. There's the Tundra again. So the base of the pad will be right here. And how the Russians build their pads is they build them into the ground. All the ground service equipment is inside of concrete bunkers. So if there's a problem with the rocket, it doesn't break the pad. Not a bad way to do that, to be honest with you. A more traditional Western design would have the rocket up like on a pedestal or a mobile launcher or something, and then all the GSE is above the surface, but spread out. The reason is because, yeah, you can't do this in Florida. Maybe in California, but you can't. Digging that far into the ground in Florida is a no-no. That's a good way to make a lake. Traditional Western design is to build it on a swamp. Yep. So yeah, that's why there's so much concrete. But the flame trench is right here, and the rocket will be right here. And these two huge footings right here, these two huge concrete blocks right there are to hold the twin service structures. Angara uses 2 fixed service structures with swing arms on either side. It looks a lot like Buran, actually. It looks like Buran's pad. Here, I'll show you.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Hey, Zizep. What's going on? There was a picture of it there, but I'm trying to see if we can get a better picture. Yeah, there we go. See? Twin service structures. And the swing arms actually... So the umbilical arms swing in, and the rotating service structures swing out. Got it. I see it right there. See? That's what those big footings are for, right there. Like if you go back and look, see those 2 big things right there? That's for that. We only get the Hilux in Germany for Toyota, and the biggest Fjord pickup we get is the Ranger. That sucks. Yeah. The Ranger's a little tiny boy, Sebi. All right. Anyway, little bit on Starship here. So this is coming from Elon here. We have since seen the thing stacked here, but that was when they rolled out super heavy. He took a picture from the top of the high bay, and then the 7th tower segment got stacked right there. And now keep in mind, this tower, the fixed service structure is going to be over here somewhere. Like, that's going to be the top of the tower. They need to put an extension on the crane to get at it. Little EU roads can't handle the big Fords. Yeah, they can handle it. Brand 2 confirmed. No. Did you already talk about the Twitter back and forth from yesterday? Yeah, Checkered. I went over it pretty in detail, but it seems like Elon has crap posted more since the time that I did. I literally got through talking about it like 30 minutes ago. Yeah, AD. I thought the F-150 Lightning was cool. Yeah, I thought that was neat. Sure, heck, that thing looks so tall. I wonder how it'll handle. Well, it's a tower, not a car. It'll handle just fine because it sits there and does nothing. You don't fly the launch tower. If your launch tower is flying, you didn't rock it correctly. Just putting it out there. I'm just saying. I mean, I think that's a fair thing to say. Okay, so RGV actually posted some stuff here. Here, let's take a look. Just arrived. Remember when your launch pad launched? I was gonna say, Cosmic, I know from experience, dude, if you know what I mean. So RGV took some pictures up close of whatever the heck these things are, the Dinglebop, or whatever it is. It is a Heim joint. Look at that. It's a freaking Heim joint. It's a ball joint. That is a Heim joint. Huh. Great close-up pictures. See the concrete anchors on them. These things? Yeah, Crafter, I don't know. That just makes I'm just getting more confused from that, to be honest with you. Yeah, I have no idea. I still don't know what I'm just going to call it the Dinglebop. Imagine if they run up the stairs in that. Oh, that would suck, Crypto. I hope there's an elevator. I still don't know what this thing does. I have no idea. This just raises further questions. We did get the Heim joint right. So this is there's a picture like a sphere, right? With a hole drilled through it inside of 2 plates of metal, and that sphere can move around inside. It's called a Heim joint. I couldn't remember the damn name. But that thing basically looks like this. See that? The Heim joints are used all over the place for a lot of different mechanical things. A thing that I can think of off the top of my head is like car suspension. Heim joints are used a lot in aftermarket car suspension, amongst other things. Peterbilt. Whatever became of the crane thing stashed in the roofless building on LBJ Boulevard? Haven't seen anything with it, character. For all I know, it's still in there. Yeah, see. That looks like that's what that is. Virgin Orbit disagrees, yeah. There's a Ford dealership that imports F-150s, but they start at like $80K for whatever reason because it's only the high-spec versions. Shame. Could those be anchored and the thing we think is upside down is suspended on top of the metal anchors? Yeah, Tylen, maybe. I don't know. If they want to move the crane, the entire building has to come apart. Yep. Why are there 3 welds on that joint? This is it's a C-ring. it holds these bushings in here. See these? Well, I don't even know if that's a bushing. I'll call that a washer. See these? See whatever this is? This metal is holding that in. So they bent this solid rod all the way around in a circle, right? And they got it to a full circle, and then they cut a section out, and they compressed it. They compressed that so it clamped like this, and then they put it in, and it stretched out inside. This is a retainer. It's a retainer ring. That's what it's called. This is designed to retain whatever that is in there, and that's one of the reasons why I think this is a Heim joint, which means that whatever is going to attach to this can pivot to an extent. I think. I don't know I've never seen a Heim joint that big. That Heim joint's the size of a basketball. I mean, it's pretty big. So once again, I don't know what this dinglebop does. I have no idea. But I know what that is. And that's about it. I don't know what this thing does, man. Anyway, so we do have a video here. I'm gonna watch this in 2x speed here. We have a video from NSF. Mary filmed it, and this is coming from the NSF YouTube channel. We do have permission to watch this stuff, and they're nice enough to let us do it. So make sure you go over there and support them if you can, please. It may not really pivot, but just allow for some assembly tolerance. Yeah, granted, that could be it as well. Yeah, it could be. RS Bear, at this point, dude, saying it's a fulcrum for a gigantic catapult is equally as, a valid theory as me saying that it catches a booster, dude. It could be a catapult for all I know, dude. I have no idea. I'm just gonna call it the dinglebop from now on. Cooking, maybe. I don't know. I guess I could see that. Chappy. I don't know if the trebuchet's still out there. Bird. Yeah, they're building another top section of a booster in there. You just like saying dinglebop. Well, I'm not gonna call it something that I don't like saying. Ah, yes. More dinglebops. That's Remedios Avenue. It looks the same as Booster 3, but I'm sure there's stuff that we can't see. And then there's that dang spring again. We figured out that that's part of the latching system that latches the Starship to the top of Super Heavy. And it's using a spring for rebound. There's the Raptor engines. We saw those already. And then they were doing some kind of coupling test here. But I don't know. Yeah, Dem Boys, SN16 is kaput.
SpaceX bus.
Oh, look at that. It has some markings on it right there. Could be for Windows. Interesting. Interesting that the interface between Starship and Super Heavy are in 3x symmetry and not 6x. I don't know. Have they started any technology for butting two starships together? The umbilical livid, yeah. But other than that, yeah, I'm not sure. Or the beginning of a payload bay. Could be that too. Just going and going and going and going. Bird. So those are heat exchangers for the propellant GSE fueling area. At what point does that just become a space elevator? Well, it's an elevator that you would take to get to space, so, I mean, oh. That guy was, with the excavator, that guy was, stomping down the dirt. Yeah, Grilani, that's also that. Looks like they're putting in one of the temporary staircases. He was getting over the pipes checkered? Oh. Yeah, you sure? I mean, probably that too, but it looks like he was stomping the dirt down at the end. Whoa. That's cool. She's a beast. Large plate he had to get over. Got it. Can I just go to this part right here and just... Okay, we can go back to 2 times speed. They have that ring there for the orbital launch table right there. They put the ring in, connecting all the footings together. It does look like a sand crawler, doesn't it, Kev? And they were hooking up the cables there, but then they went to cryoshell tank construction over here. Wonder if we're gonna put that cool black mesh on it like at the Cape. I think they will, Hired. Yes, they will. There's the 8th and final segment. The 8th and final segment is about 2/3 the height of one of the other 7. Yeah, Arcsign, it's coming together pretty quickly, isn't it? There's the latching mechanism, where those flat plates were, that kind of Tetris piece together. We saw that roll out. Wait, is the 8th segment a triangle? No, it's a square from what I understand, Hokey. Let me go take a look. Yeah, it's a square. They just don't have the 4th post up. It's definitely a square. That's just that's 90 degrees. What the heck is that guy doing? That's the windmill servicing thing. I mean, that thing is designed to get people up to a wind turbine. Doing it for the gram. Nice. University of Texas Rio Grande Valley facility that SpaceX utilizes. What is this? We're looking at footage of SpaceX's new launch complex and rocket factory. These are rocket parts and fuel tanks for the launch pad, and that's a bird. Yep. I always try to review this all the time, Sardinia. Yeah, this is where they're working on the new stuff here. Like, I mean, they also show birds. This footage is coming from my buddies over at NASA Spaceflight. But check this out. When I say they're building a new launch complex, I mean that. That tower that they're working on right now, this footage is from yesterday. This segment was stacked up this morning. This thing is going to be 500 feet tall when it's done. A little under 200 meters, which is unreal. That's crazy. Question, has there not been much coverage recently about the Texas Gigafactory? No, Hoagie. There was that guy that I showed a long time ago posted a new one the other day. A new video the other day. I just haven't been showing his stuff because I never asked him for permission, dude. I didn't want to show that stuff all the time. Like, in this day and age, I gotta be careful. You gotta be careful about that, so. Sorry, I must have missed it. I never talked about it, dude, so yeah, don't worry about it. How tall did you say that tower is going to be? 500 feet, included, with lightning rod included, Chris. About as tall as the VAB. Did you cover this from earlier? Is that the new thing that he said? Oh, I have that still teed up, Tessa. Yeah. So, last two things is that and this here. Your English is very bad. It's fine. I can understand what you're saying. Don't worry about it. So, somebody asked Elon after he said that ULA was bored with an original sin. It was bored with the premise that two competitive launch providers cannot coexist to compete for government contracts. Boeing and Lockheed Martin merged to enable the monopoly price bargaining power. In the land of capitalism, this is a cardinal sin. It's a little more complicated than that, but if you want to go back and understand why, I explained it at the beginning of the Space News segment. What is not well understood is that ULA still has a monopoly carve-out for U.S. government launches for which SpaceX is not allowed to compete, costing the taxpayer twice as much per launch than it should. This obviously is not real competition. You're Uruguayan. Oh. Bienvenido mi stream. Reply? I don't participate in Twitter threads, Dylan. It's very, very rare that I do. I like to sit back and observe. English is weird, dudes. Like, I can see how someone that would learn, like, Spanish or Portuguese first, going to English, it's just like, alright. Oh, yeah, great. Oh, that makes no sense. Lovely. You do not partake. Twitter's a zoo, Woodbite. Why would I want to jump into a lion's den if I went to a zoo? You observe. That's what I do with Twitter. That's what 90% of Twitter users do. You observe. I just observe. I observe and I analyze. I am scientific when it comes to Twitter. What is not well understood is that ULA still has a monopoly carve-out for U.S. government launches for which SpaceX is not allowed to compete, costing the taxpayer twice as much money that it should. It's not obviously real competition. I'm the zookeeper. Yeah, all right, cool. I'll take docent, volunteer docent hired. Even as a bilingual person with German and English, I find English very confusing. That's partially your fault, Sebi. It's based off of it's a Germanic language. That's mostly your fault. You should assume blame for that. It's your problem. Bird app. Stupid as hell. You don't want to get involved with anything on there. I generally don't, Hazanku. My rule of thumb with Twitter is if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. I basically conduct myself on Twitter like I would in real life. It takes a real lot. You really have to rustle my jimmies to get me to say something bad about somebody. I just generally don't bother. It's a waste of time. And then you're playing the he said, she said game, and now I'm getting flashbacks of high school. I'm not in high school. I'm a 32-year-old man. I don't need to waste my time with that stuff. That's why I observe. It's Germanic and Latin. You're Latin. Yeah, I know. The funny thing is, gamer, is that I said it's Latin. I said that English is originated in Latin, and everybody said it's Germanic. So now if I say Germanic, people are going to say it's Latin, actually. Yeah, I get it. It was a joke. It was a joke. Laugh. Be happy. Be happy. Don't be like Twitter. Please. Just be happy. As a mother language Slovenian that lives in an Italian ambient and thus knows mother Italian too, I love English because it's such soft and on-hand language, I guess. Gerlatnik. Yeah. Gorlami. Mira que a mí me gustan los cohetes, pero contigo es un poco más interesante. Nunca no te entiendo mucho. Eres uno de los mejores. You understand this? Sardinian for the most part. I mean, I get bits and pieces. I don't know what cojotes. I don't know what that means. What? Hold on. Cohetes? Oh, rocket. Nice. Sweet. So you're saying look, what I like about rockets is the little interesting things, right? That's what it says. The little intricate details, is that what I'm getting right? I only need to translate one word, but I get most of it, dude. I understand some Spanish. But I speak, so this is going to sound dumb, Sardinia. I speak American Spanish, which means I know words, and I have the competency, influency of Spanish as like an 11-year-old. Yeah. Look, I like rockets, but seeing it with you is a little more interesting. Even if I don't understand you, you're one of the best. Gracias. Gracias, amigo. Salud. Thanks, Atlanta guys. Yeah, I just ended up translating it because I had to. I got bits and pieces. Like, I know some words. I'm not fluent though. I can fake it though and make it look like I am, but no, not even close. Oh, that's awesome, Thomas. How does you okay, Phil. How does ULA still have a monopoly when they literally just had a competitive procurement for NSSL? They also had a competitive procurement for the last few rounds of EELV. But he doesn't say monopoly, Phil, if we're going to dissect this. Elon didn't say monopoly. He said monopoly carve-out. Maybe he's talking about NSSL certifications. That has to be. Once again, I don't... Phil, if you really want my honest opinion, and this is just off of all these observations and the breakdown and everything, I think Elon's talking about stuff that we don't understand. It's entirely possible that he is talking about things that aren't known to the average person, not even me or you. You know, he says there's a monopoly carve-out for U.S. government launches, which SpaceX is not allowed to compete. Is he talking? Maybe he's talking about NSSL certification. Maybe there's something in the NSSL contract that he's trying to bring to light. Maybe he said that stuff so people would go and look to try and figure out what the heck he's talking about. I don't understand what that means. But what I think is important to understand in analyzation of this, Phil, is context. In context, what is Elon talking about? Like, you could just write it off as a Twitter tirade, right? If you want, just whine it on Twitter. Yeah, I guess. But I think there's always something to learn, and this is why I just observe on Twitter. There's always something to learn here. Because he wouldn't waste his breath if he wasn't trying to prove some kind of point somewhere, right? Like, it's just like, I mean, that's what I'm kind of going off of, you know? Probably a subset of government launches. Yeah, Phil, there's got to be something that we're not considering here into this fact. Like, I'd be curious to go see what he means. What he means when he says that there's a monopoly carve-out for launches which SpaceX is not allowed to compete. I think that's the key in that statement. Elon kicked my Doge. I mean, he pretty much did. I feel like he's commenting on some not-so-public things. Hillness, that's my guess, dude, because I don't understand what it means. That doesn't make sense to me. Did you see Elon praise the Chinese Communist Party? No, I didn't. Did I see the KSP tweet? Lols, I did. Yes, I did see that. You might be teaching English and rocket engineering, too, for... Yeah. It would be better if somebody taught me Spanish. I'm still trying to go with the Russian stuff, but I haven't had a lot of time to really sit down and mess with it lately. But I like, Dmitry Rogozin can post on Twitter, and I can pick up enough words to know what he's saying, which, I mean, I can kind of do that with Spanish. But I can only do that with Russian when it comes to words that have rockets in them. Like, if I see rocket, Vostochny, and OneWeb all in the same thing, all in the same sentence, I can figure out what the heck's going on, you know? He's probably still salty that Starship didn't get selected. They didn't bid Starship for the launch services procurement, Raja. They bid Falcon 9. For the launch services agreement, the LSA, they bid Starship and lost. It will be interesting to see how Tory responds to that. Maybe we'll get some info. That's what I mean. He's probably still annoyed about that. Could be, Raj. Yeah, that's possible. Like, that's what I said. Like, in terms of context here, there's something that we're missing. There's something that we're missing here because, you know what? It doesn't make sense. Even for, like, throwing a tirade, like, just crap posting on Twitter, it still doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? I would be interested to go do some digging, and if I had more time and I was just doing space journalism, right? We got Kerbal to play. We got to go. That's what I would dig for. I would go digging through the NSSL to try and figure out what the heck a monopoly carve out on launches for which SpaceX is not allowed to compete. That's what I would go and look. That's what I would go and find. Try to figure out what he's talking about. Yeah, Wookie, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm pretty hype. I like all rockets. I want more rockets. I want the market to be healthy. I'd prefer it to be healthy with reusable launch vehicles, but I'm not picky. Because it's not big enough to be able to pick and choose like that. And once again, I'll say it again. That's where Elon Musk succeeds. I think he's 100% right. We want to take space seriously. We need to make reusable spacecraft. Not just something that's partially reusable like the space shuttle. We need something that can fly into space, come back down, and be ready to launch 24, at the very least, or at the very most, I should say, 24 hours later. We want to take this seriously. We really want to go into space. It can't be on a gigantic expendable rocket that, you know, costs an exorbitant amount of money that you can use once and you get the capsule back. That's the 1960s. With that being said, at the same time, I do understand why SLS exists, and I champion it. You want to get to reusable stuff? Guess what? For somebody like NASA, that's going to take some time. Now, would it be awesome if the shuttle and Starship existed at the same time? Yes, that would be really cool, because Starship is basically the other stuff that they wanted to make with the space shuttle to complete the STS program. Can you imagine the shuttle sending up people to a lunar starship and then that being refueled and going out to space? That would be really cool. Yeah, I would want that. Yeah, I would want that a lot. Anyway. What's the status of SLS? They're getting ready to stack the interim cryogenic propulsion stage in the VAB. Should be stacked sometime this week. Geek, they're going slow. They said ICPS by basically now. They're from the timelines that I was listening to. They said end of this month, so they fell behind on something somewhere. But that's take your time, do it right the first time, and then you get a good way. You have a good way to do it. So now's the time to take your time, right? I bet the Department of Defense wants to launch certain payloads with companies that aren't run by meme lords. I guess. Issues with the LVS Eta core mating, apparently. Interesting. Okay, last thing here. So KSP posted this. We're still adding engines to our part roster, and here's a peek at one that's still in the early white box phase. We still haven't come up with a Kerbal-fied name for this LOX-augmented nuclear thermal rocket, or LANTR. Super Nerve, Snurv, suggestions are welcome. And Elon replied, what are we doing wrong at SpaceX? You probably have some great ideas. Fundamental optimization for making life multiplanetary and backing up the biosphere is cost per ton to the surface of Mars. What system achieves this the best? So, Lifeboat Foundation, I don't know this person, but it has always bothered us a little that SpaceX's Moonlander will be using a variation of SpaceX's largest ship and will require a few launches of SpaceX's largest ship just to load it up with fuel before it begins the journey to the moon. Basically, this is like trying to refuel a gas station with a car instead of using a properly sized tanker truck. Here's a possible solution. Build Starship Heavy with an 18-meter diameter core. Okay. And use it for refueling, saving a bunch of trips. Use the same engines for both Starship and Super. Use the same engines for both Starship and Super Heavy, simplifying the development of Starship Heavy. With a Starship Heavy for refueling, the Moonlander will no longer look oversized, and finally we will have a good vehicle for building space stations, including replacement for the ISS. Okay. And to which, let's see, what do we got back here? Elon says, doubling the diameter increases the mass by 4 times, correct? Yeah, yeah, okay. But difficulty is simultaneously building and launching a rocket of that size is 4 times as difficult. Yep. In retrospect, the 9-meter diameter of Starship might have been a greater than 9 meters. Greater than 9-meter diameter for Starship might have been wise. Current size is 5,200 ton stack mass and about 7,500 ton full thrust, which is more than double the Saturn V. Less than. Yeah, less than. Sorry, excuse me, I did backwards. Less than 9-meter diameter for Starship might have been wise. Yeah, there's a kind of a rule that I have about rockets. If you have a rocket that's 10 feet tall, right? You have a rocket that's 10 feet tall and 1 foot wide, okay? It's not double as difficult to make a rocket that's 20 feet tall and 2 feet wide. It's 4 times as difficult. As you increase a rocket's diameter, difficulty scales exponentially. So going from a rocket that's 3.7 meters in diameter to Falcon 9 to a rocket that's 9 meters in diameter like Starship is not 3 times as difficult. It's 20 times as difficult. And then you have to make it reusable on top of that. Now it's 20 times on top of that difficulty. It's really tough. Really difficult. This stuff gets really complicated once you start making bigger rockets. And it's not just as simple as, oh, add more boosters. That works in Kerbal. It doesn't work that well in real life. Now, actually, I mean, it's a good question. What This is a good question, and this is a good pivot for KSP because they're talking with KSP. Scott, if you could scale down the solar system to the size of the Kerbin system, that would help a lot. And then KSP's like, have you guys tried? If y'all tried playing more KSP, usually the best ideas come after 1,000 hours. Let us know if you need some keys. Nice. That's the social media person at Kerbal going, I don't know what any of this means. I don't know. What does that mean? I'm not trying to dump on Squad social media person. That's some pretty heavy rocket stuff right there, which is hilarious. Oh, I just realized that. That's like, yep, nope, those are words, you know. Honestly, for traveling with people to Mars, Starship is almost a bit too small. Progress MS-17 Docking Lab. Let's move over to KSP. You ever watch that Maston video I linked yesterday? Yeah, mining using basically a rocket engine point into the ground core, and then it does kind of what Osiris Rex did. It pushes everything up and into not a filter, but a centrifuge, I guess. Yeah, interesting idea. Virgin Galactic is up 27% in after hours. Nice. That's cool. Yeah, because you need to either make a bigger engine, which is, yeah, I mean, propulsion is always the bottleneck of any rocket design, or use lots of smaller engines, risking reliability issues. Rockets do not scale up very well like boats, correct. Yep. We'll just watch a rerun tomorrow, Phil. Let me know if anything weird happens. Could you show Maston's vid? Core, link up Maston's vid so Altiel can see it. I mean, what would you guys do? What would you guys do? Is there better... Is there... I mean... Elon says, what are we doing wrong at SpaceX? You probably have some good ideas. The fundamental optimization for making life multiplanetary and backing up the biosphere is cost per ton to the surface of Mars. What system achieves that the best? Oh, okay, LTO. We'll do that another day. Space News has already gone long. Reply to him? I don't have an answer. Kraken drives. Orion drives? I don't like Orion drives. Please tweet the link. Here. I think the best solution was developed in the 60s. Something big dumb rocket, something sea launch. Yeah, Tessa, I agree with you. I think that I agree with you, but I agree with you in a little different way. Update on the ISS. They lost ground communication control this afternoon, and they're trying to fix it. Crew isn't in any danger. All right. A concept that I don't see talked about much is Atmos scooping. You get plenty of oxygen in low Earth orbit if you're low enough. That's it. Yeah, but well, your orbit would decay, Raph, because that you're making drag. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. Is the amount of oxygen that you take in? Raph, is it a diminishing return? Is what I'm trying to say. Is he being sarcastic though? I don't know, Hired. Elon may be converging on the concept of Starship as an affordable option for on-orbit construction and low orbit to surface delivery rather than an end-all be-all solution to Earth and Mars cargo transport. Pray, I was gonna say, okay, this is me, all right. This is me talking. Like, not, you know, like, oh, well, in my expert aerospace opinion, this is something I can't particularly prove, I guess, with numbers or anything, but part of what makes rockets so complicated and so expensive is the exotic materials that is needed to produce them. Aluminum, lithium ions, nice. Elons? Aluminum, lithium aluminum, lithium, like, metal, like 7000 series aluminum for Vulcan, all types of Inconels, all types of molybdenum. There's all types of exotic metals and alloys that need to be produced for a rocket to work. And in that regard, I think that Tessa is right. Building a big dumb rocket or something like that, or using a little more readily available materials for this is a good idea. Meaning that like, okay, a rocket that's made out of steel, for instance, like sea launch, right? A rocket that's made out of steel, right? Even if you don't launch it from the sea, would be a lot more inexpensive. It wouldn't cost as much to make because you're using steel, right? Now, with steel, if you use the right steel, right, you could make something that doesn't need as big of a thermal protection system, right? Or if you use stainless steel, for instance, you don't need something that relies on a big crazy thermal protection system like the shuttle, for instance. And that's what I think Starship is trying to solve. I honestly think Elon switching to stainless steel was genius. That was really smart. You need to, if we're gonna go about getting stuff to Mars and getting out there, like how we want to, right? Like the Expanse stuff. If we really want to get to that point, it's really contingent on two things: how much energy we can generate in space, and how the materials that we need. Like, you don't want to make spacecraft out of exotic materials. You try to avoid that, Isn't titanium stronger than steel? Yes, but titanium is also very expensive, very rare, and it's hard to come by. Train buff. But yes, it is. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. You don't, like, if somebody could come along and make a rocket that's like Sea Dragon, that's just made out of steel, right? It's just regular steel that you can go buy at the hardware store, and they can figure out a way to make it work. It almost doesn't even matter that it would be expendable. The cost would be so low and it'd be so easy to make that it wouldn't matter. Elon is basically making a mini Sea Dragon with Starship. Something like that, Tessa, yeah. It's like halfway between Sea Dragon and the Saturn V, right? I'm a little skeptical whether the chomper design for the payload bay is best. I think side opening doors pigzig for Starship is the way to go, like the space shuttle, but that's just me. The Pac-Man fairing, I don't understand how they're going to put payload in that. Big, dumb, and cheap is the perfect way to get big things into low Earth orbit. Use the expensive, efficient stuff up there when it makes a difference. And that's Tori Bruno's, that's ULA's way of looking at it. Yeah. That's why I always thought, Tessa, that Ares 1 and Omega are great designs, because solid rocket boosters, who cares if you expend those things? That doesn't matter. If you make your upper stage reusable, then that's a lot better of a design. Do you guys think there was sort of issues when railway systems were just coming in? To an extent, Snibbles, yeah. You'd have to read about what George Stephenson and his son were on about when railroads kind of coming into their own. With ion engines, you could push it more than you decay. Okay, cool. Nice. Nice, Ralph. Yeah, concepts. Yep, still on the drawing board. Yeah, story of my life, huh? When do you think we'll have asteroid mining? I don't know, Jackery. For example, were people thinking about how we are going to actually make this thing move on tracks, etc., etc.? Yeah, you'd have to read about George Stephenson. He's the guy that kind of he's the father of railroading. He's a British guy. Very interesting, yeah. He found a lot of ways on how not to make a train, just like Edison with the light bulb. Yep. The name of the game is cost, but what Elon is saying here is that size may not always be cheaper per kilogram. They teach us flight rate is the key to low Earth orbit, but there's not enough real practice to say for certain if that remains the same beyond.